Connection established.
A Bee's Knees production. No.
Hello, everybody. How's your going? Oh,
I'm ready, Carol.
oh, what are you doing there? Okay.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Oh, bugger you. And we got another one. Hello.
Hi, guys.
How you going,
I don't have
guys?
any flags or anything, but Happy New Year.
Oh, dear, I love it. I love it. Here we go. Hey, what happened there? All this...
What happened to Robert?
I don't know. He's gone for a walk somewhere, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know what we have
Robert.
to talk about in your intro,
There
more
he
or
is.
less reminded me. We have to talk about the robot that attacked a worker at Tesla's truck factory, and I guess it really hurt him bad. And they had to shut down the entire network to stop it.
What?
Yeah,
I did hear that. Yep.
I have not.
yeah. That's just like an iRobot.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, listen, the way things happen at the start of the show, you can tell it's live. Can't you? Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's New Year's Eve here in Perth, Western Australia. So you guys got to catch up with us. So tonight I'm going out with my lovely wife and my family. Hopefully I might do a Mr. B out and about with the fireworks and everything. Who knows? I'll see if I can do it. If it's too crowded, I'm going to stay away from.
It's amateur night. It's amateur night.
Yeah, look, I'm a country boy at heart, and I don't like lots of people around me. Like this, I can handle it. I can handle it. Anyway, look, I want to thank everybody for coming to join us today. And as usual, we've got Mr. Jim Goodall himself, the man. As I said, he's the author, come adventurer, mate. This guy, he's a bit high nose. He actually used to work in
dancing
stunt
man
works,
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my hand. That was my handle. When I lived in Hawaii. Was dancing man. I danced with every woman on the island.
Oh.
And beneath Mr. Jim Goodall is our Mr. Professor Bauer from Nexus Netcast. How you going, Mr. Boa, Professor, or whatever you want to call you? But well, he's not really a professor, but then again, he can be whatever he wants. That's the power of positive thinking. You remember that?
That's right.
and underneath Robert, well, that should rephrase that one. The next person I'd like to introduce you to is Chastity Monas. How you going, Chastity? Now, Chastity, she is such a delight to watch. I watch her little morning hello, good morning, greetings, and all that. She's such a cheerful bubble. She really is. Such a positive person. Hey, look who we've got just calling in. Hello, Mr. Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
It's party
everybody.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be with you in a sec, Brian. anyway, Chastity,
Yes.
I've never seen a woman wear a Doberman on her before.
Where what now?
A Doberman. Okay, I'll get this. Dalmatian, sorry. Dalmatian.
Oh.
I've got it all wrong. A Dalmatian. She's got this new house coat, right?
Yeah, I
And
do.
it's got black dots all over it. And there she was showing off like a model on Facebook. And it's like, she looks like a Dalmatian.
The Corella Deville.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Anyway, and it's nice to see a nice, cheerful smile there and brightness. And here we are, the educator of all educators, molding our future. My God, God help us. No, but honestly, she's a lovely lady. But we were actually just talking a few moments ago that it's not the children we should be educating; it's the adults. And it's just a different walk in a different direction. We give the positive input to the adults, and they can pass it on to their children. And underneath Heidi, we have Mr. Brian Singh. G'day, Brian. A long time no see, my friend. How are you today?
I'm good. I share your morning at the millennials and what's become of the educational systems as they were, and how instead of not meeting the needs of our children, they're poisoning our children and miseducating them. And that's horrible.
I call it giving them what they want, but not what they need. That's the problem in society today.
I call it there's a evil, dark agenda behind all of it that's been running for decades, if not hundreds of years, or thousands, depending on how you want to count it. And this is the end outcome with the pendulum swung all the way. But they thought they were going to make it all the way around their swing set, but no. And so they're about to swing back down, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. And we're in for interesting times, as they say in China.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
Well, and anyway, it's back to me, isn't it? Oh, I suppose. Oh, God. There's nothing worse than being here in front of the microphone. You've got to say, oh, shit, I've got to talk now. Anyway, I mean, talking's never been my problem, but I look, you can't beat the professor. I mean, he's good at it. If anybody can talk, that man, he has the golden tonsils. That tongue is like a whip, and it just goes.
Robert and we've never had a phone call that was less than 2.5 hours. And a lot of times the only reason we hang up, either his phone's ready to die or mine is.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm retired, so there's sometimes I go a week and never leave my property. It's not very, I just have a lot in a suburb, but
Perfect.
I'll go out by the pool, and I always go out every night with my dog and smoke my weed, unless I'm on with Mr. B.
That hasn't stopped you. Come on.
And I'll check the mail, and that's it. So, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
we can talk forever, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy and appreciate Robert's brain and his and his perspective.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
He's a knowledgeable man, actually, believe it or not. Actually, I've never met somebody that's so can speak sensible. I mean, I dribble, but this guy just talks like poetry. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, whatever comes out of his mouth. Oh no, mate! Don't let your head swell, buddy. Okay.
You notice he had his mute button on.
Hey,
Now you.
Oh.
I've got your.
There you
I've
go.
got your. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for those kind words. The money's in the mail. And if you guys didn't give some old geezer geek like me who's on this Gnostic quest of what the fuck, I wouldn't be doing it, so you wouldn't be suffering. So I'm kind of giving you some of the blame because I get a lot of egging on, so you get what you push.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah.
We have to keep
Oh.
it clean.
Yeah. Nah.
No,
Thanks for
Heidi
all.
says no. Hey, Brian, your microphone's mute, mate. Have you got it muted yourself or what?
Oh, I just
Right.
tend to mute myself unless I have something to say.
Oh,
know,
sweet.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna, but you know what? While I've got the mic, here we are at the end of the year, going into 2024.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, are we doing a retrospectus at all?
Yeah. Well, in fact, that's what B and I were talking about a couple of days ago was what's the theme? Well, how about just a year-end review of, what let's take like the top 2 or 3 things that each one of us thinks were the most impactful, the most important throughout the year. And this just kind of go down a list and don't have to go into a lot of detail, but what's your top 3 things that were the most important, positive or negative, doesn't matter, that each one of us ranks for the year, and kind of go from there. Because I know there's going to be some interesting nuggets in there.
Yeah, I have October 7th. I have, there's somebody else.
Well, give 3 of them, Jim. What would be your top 3?
Ukraine and China/Taiwan.
And then October
Yeah.
7th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
yeah.
Chastity, what about you? What would be your top 3?
I really have to think about that.
Yeah, it's not easy because there's a whole bunch to pick from, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
Are you talking storylines and narratives, or are you
No,
talking
just
personal journey?
the most important and impactful events that have happened throughout the year to you. They can be personal, they can be public, they can be whatever. But so when you look back, these are the things that most likely you'll look back at next year at 2023 and go, yeah, those 3 things, or or that bucket of things, or that basket of stuff, whatever it is that accumulated. But we're at the point now where this calendar, this magical numerical event happens that really it's only psychological. It has nothing to do. I mean, if you looked at the real stuff that's going on, the solstice and the planetary and the astronomical and astrological aspects of energy and frequencies and cycles and all that stuff, that's where the real interesting shit is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is, and that's where the stuff that you need to go rooting around in to see what's happening and how it may how you resonate with it, and that determines to me what's the most important thing. So we've got this yes it's a rear end, and we're going to review it.
Yeah, I'd like to amend my 3, if I may.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to take Ukraine out and put in Belize.
Yay.
Nice.
That is going to be. I have a lot of good news, but okay. I relinquish the microphone.
All right. Hey, Heidi, what about you? While Chastity is still chewing on that one.
Please.
Well, I have to recall on stepping in the lead because I've literally been able to see alchemy, see these things work with the children, like the scalar toning. I'm trying things out with children, and there's shifts happening. So
Mm.
that's pretty damn cool. I do reflect
Awesome.
on my big old road trip though all the time. 16 states we did, but I just remember feeling at peace and finally this feeling of expansion, but also seeing how incredibly gorgeous and beautiful and massive everything is, how much land we are on, like just how beautiful the planet is. The planet's fine. And I just felt like I recall that a lot to bring myself back to one. Just the peacefulness of being on the road.
I love that.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope most people got just a piece of that. I mean, that sounds
Yeah.
like, to me, I think I can see it in you that, and I haven't known you more than just about this last year, but I've noticed a difference in your energy. It seems to be more, it's like a concentrated focus of just
Yeah.
buzz. You seem to be,
Yeah.
your
I
energy is
think-
shifting, right?
But I think there was a start of the year was massive pain body. Like there was another layer of dark night coming through. And I really had to let go of my old role in the communities, which is a little mother henny and stuff. And I got shouldered out by a few things. And I had to my ego took a hit. And I had to deal with that being shouldered out, like not being liked or, whatever that. I had to really just go, what's it really all about? And yeah, this happened, and then all of a sudden this beautiful blooming road appeared. Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
what?
That all
Quite
happened?
honestly,
I
believe,
can feel it when you're saying it. It's awesome.
with Heidi and Chastity, I mean, they're both very similar in personalities. They've got this bubbly attitude. Which they're just kind of beaming out with, "Hey, God,
You're referring to me, right?
They should do Colgate ads. I mean, they've got that beautiful smile. You know what I mean? So,
Aw.
Thanks.
yes, and they're refreshing to have. And let's have a look at you, miserable. I won't date in front of these ladies. Anyway, but yes.
All right.
But-
So, hey,
and it's a pleasure
Heidi,
having you guys.
Heidi, you mentioned one thing, right? Which was, and it sounded like it was more than even 3 or 4. It sounded like that one thing was the most profound thing that you experienced for 2023, kind of how you remember it when you look back on it. It'll be,
Yeah.
the leading filter or sensation that you have.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I could feel everything that you were saying. It was like, thank you. That
Well,
was
it gives you
awesome.
tunnel vision. When you see this shit works, you're like, well, what's the problem here? We can all do this.
Exactly. It's all, then that's the most, one of the most baffling things, but I think we're starting to see more of a leveling up of, it's not that hard. Those of us that have been in that space or in that vibration have been looking around for a while at others going, why aren't you getting this? Or how come you're not feeling this? Because it's everywhere. And it's very easy to see it, to acknowledge it, to engage with it, interact with it, and try to get the most positive path and journey through whatever that is, because it's all just constant chaos. It's all coming at you. And if you can't stop and look at things, as I like to say, with objective neutrality, you're going to have one hell of a time sorting through the shit that you're trying to sort through.
Sure. Yep. Cheers.
So, Brian, let's hear yours.
Cheers.
What do you got?
Okay, so I didn't see these coming. Well, some of them I did, some of them I didn't. Or if you asked me 5 years ago, obviously, any of these I would have thought you were crazy, or I was crazy. Number one is the pandemic is now finally at the end of the year being revealed as the scamdemic that it is, with all sorts of documents coming out and government officials at highest levels, including heads of state, stepping down. And all this word coming out about what's in this stuff, and people then saying, well, gee, now we can actually sue these companies because there's no sort of vaccine safety or whatever issue there, but it's
based on fraud.
It's based on fraud. There you go. Thank you so much, Jim. Excellent. And
by the way, Brian, I was
Yeah.
taken down last week because we were actually talking about the vaccine.
yeah, exactly.
A 2.5 hour show, Facebook, YouTube just went, "Doo, goodbye."
That was
Yeah.
so sad.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
they shouldn't they
but
shouldn't be at this point.
every other platform kept it. So yeah,
Right.
anyway,
And
carry
that's
on.
the thing. I'm seeing that even the lame book, fact book, is they seem to have to step it back a little bit on their censorship. It's half as rabid as it used to be. It's still rabid. They'll still take down awesome shows like yours here because you said the V word and told the truth. But I think they're even getting spanked a little bit behind the scenes. So that's a big one for me.
But I don't understand this, Brian. It's just that, yes, they closed mine down, but Robert streamed from my channel.
Me too.
Heidi
Me
streamed
too.
from my
It's still
channel.
up.
Yeah, and they didn't get taken down.
I have a warning label though. There's a warning label on there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just doing it too often.
Might be the algorithms, could be the censorship when they do the AI reads a transcript and then the keywords come up and then they decide, okay, let's put a shadow ban or an outright ban or a block on you for that, and
real quick, what I think, because that was something that happened to me. Heidi and I both streamed it from the stream like we're doing now, and we both just got the little Wikipedia context marker, right? But I think the censorship may have come from Australia, because he was doing a YouTube from Australia and streaming there.
Oh yeah.
Possible.
So that might be something to consider when you do these, because it's really, Heidi and I are both, we're an hour time zone away here in the States. So, we're doing the same thing and from the same place. So that's, I think you're right about this point about the censorship. The whole censorship industrial complex has been, they cranked it up hard and the gears broke and belts came off and it's just falling apart all over the place, in my opinion. And I think what's happening is you're seeing a transition in what has been the legacy media into the century media or the new century media, which is exactly what we are doing right now and have been doing. The ability to get information out and do it in a great quality way, especially if you're good at it, is on the rise. We're just seeing the crest of the wave that's beginning to form, in my opinion. So there, you look at all the people who've been censored, the Carlsons, Joneses, Musk is getting attacked. Everybody who has a voice that people pay attention to are the targets. And there are targets because they're saying the stuff that the other guys not only won't say, but they can't say. Because if they did, they would then have to tell the truth, be transparent, be accountable and auditable. And that's what's happening with this new media. People are going out and they're auditing these news services, and then they're doing their own analysis on the stories and what's happening and what. So they say this. In fact, this whole thing. I'm sorry, I'm going to get back to you, Brian. I'll just finish this whole AI thing. That I've been going on about, and I got a hell of a lot more to say about it. An excellent example of one of the biggest flaws in the design and just the fundamentals of the way it works is the fact that they have to go use everybody else's content. The AI is nothing more than a static content interrogator. That's it. It doesn't look forward, doesn't look back. It's like, here's the data that's there now. And so it can't and never will be conscious. There won't be sentience. Not with the physics that we're using today. In our science model, even the black ops stuff and the dark projects, all of that, they've got some of the plasma technology that's going to enable some of this. But apparently the whole idea of doing the, complete transformation of hardware and software into sentience and capacity, it's not going to happen. But what's happening is that ChatGPT, the big dog in the AI space, is getting sued by the New York Times because in order to populate the large language models, they use New York Times articles, which technically are copywritten and can't be reproduced without permission. So I'm sorry to go off on that, and let me try to connect it back this way. that kind of stuff is part of what's happening with going transition from the legacy media to the new media. The information, like what Brian does, he does an amazing amount of research on incredible stuff, and he's one of those content creators that is influencing those that are interested in that data. Because you're not going to go get the information things that Brian does and pays attention to from any of the legacy stuff. Nowhere. You're not starting to get it, interestingly enough, from the guys that have been banned. Tucker Carlson, Musk, right? Alex Jones. So I think that's what's happening, and I'm sorry that I knocked that turd all over the table. Brian, back to you.
Oh, no. I mean, this is great. I hope that these topics or our top threes get the ball rolling for great discussions like this. With like Musk and Rogan, they get the targets on their back because they have such large audiences and such a great influence. But the problem, great in scale influence. But the problem is their messages still aren't on target. Meanwhile, us little guys and gals, if you will, we do not have a very large platform at all, but because our messages are so true and on target, we are laser beam attacked with the shadow band and algorithm AI precision that they can muster. I mean, it's nice though getting to see the large corporations, as you mentioned, fighting each other like the New York Times versus say Microsoft or whoever owns ChatGPT or whatnot. Instead of them coming after us, they get to sue each other. And, and they're just aggregating because, as you say, AI right now, it's just generative. It can only mimic, it can't create. It's like the devil. And if you want misinformation, you go to the lamestream legacy media like the dying New York Times and CNN. I just remember that same stupid war in Iraq, that the smart bomb going down the chimney like a zillion times, that same shot, over and over to launch this wonderful Iraq war. And it's good to see those guys collapsing by the wayside, which brings us to my number two kind of big, like retrospective looking back on 2023. It's, I wouldn't have foreseen China's transformation from the roaring dragon to the tofu dragon. The United States from we're king of the world to being in the same shoes economically as China now on the downhill. San Francisco is looking like a ghost town and everything's on the verge of collapse. And it's really set up for either a reset or a reawakening, an awakening. And that's exciting. And also kind of, I am kind of personally stacking up on trying to look for silver and gold and guns and ammo and food and water and power and communications and friends and prepping and not being in the middle of large cities. That's just me looking forward into 2024. And that brings us into the third kind of big thing for me.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Brian, can I interrupt you real quick and ask you something on that number two?
Yeah, come on.
So the whole idea, everything that you said, is something that I left California back in 79 from Southern California to live on a homestead up in Canada because in 79 in Southern California, I was thinking, this is it. We got to get out. Okay. So I was
1979.
Yeah. And then was like a cakewalk. When I think back on what were the parameters that made me feel like this is getting out of hand, I need to get out and move up to the country. And it's a lot of the same themed stuff, a lot of the social, conflict and crap going on. But it's, what we're seeing now is orders of magnitude, which is making it even more interesting as well as challenging. But I wanted to go live in a preparatory model when I was 22, not only because I wanted to escape it, but because I thought that seems like the right thing to do. So my first wife and I, we had a teepee. We wrote a letter in the magazine natural life up there, and it was letter to the editors that we were young and we had a teepee and we wanted to live off the land and we were ready to go with strong backs, go get them. And we got all these offers, and the one that we took was from a British. He was a merchant seaman back in the late 20s. His name was Jonathan Waterhouse, and he was from England. And he did the merchant seaman thing for like 20 years. And then Canada said, we're giving away land. If you clear it and produce, clear this much of it or in this amount of time, then it's yours. And then you also get paid all these extra benefits because you homesteaded the land. So he did that in 1928 on this land that I was up on, 160 acres, which is a quarter mile square. And 80 of it was cleared. And we grew Kentucky bluegrass and alfalfa and bees and acre size garden. Sorry, I'm going down that. I'm having a flashback, and I'm sharing it with you as I'm thinking about it. So my apologies. But my point is, to your number two, Brian, is if things weren't as bad as they are now, say they were half as bad, or hell, 10% as bad as they are now, would you still be thinking about those things and doing them?
Well, the thing about disasters and troubled times like these is it's kind of hard, I'd say, to almost cut them in halves when they're so exponential. And so if it was half as bad, I'd say, yeah, to answer your question, yes.
You'd still be pursuing all of that.
Absolutely. And then, because this brings us to the third thing is, I wouldn't have foreseen this, but I would have hoped for it. It's really kind of the coming together of the full disclosure now movement, where all these survivors and people who can testify to these programs and abductions and MK Ultra abuses, they're coming out of the woodwork, and there's too many of them. And I think the other side's too busy trying to keep their own ship from sinking to play whack-a-mole with us all. And it only makes it more obvious the harder they try, and they only risk getting caught more and more while they themselves are trying to cover their own butts and build their own bunkers. So
do you see as much incompetence in the way that they're rolling it out as I do?
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense if you've ever worked for any large scale corporation, because, if you looked at the Japanese corporate model back in the day coming out of World War II, they had what you called the corporate man, where you worked for Toshiba for decades and all your life, and you literally got a gold watch when you retired, and you had a nice retirement and you were set. And now that that's all been gone and taken away, what do we have now? Those were the good old days of corporatism. Today we have the yes man suck boy. I want to work for Facebook and write an algorithm and be a zillionaire and be Elon's best buddy, at Burning Man, but there's no art or drive or fire there. There's just a wannabe.
They're just dangling the carrot, mate. They're just dangling the carrot to the To the
and so now imagine you've got your whole corporation is a bunch of people jangling the carrot and the stick and trying to beat each other down and get the promotion over each other, and no one has their eye on the prize. And what is a prize these days? Even these corporations themselves have lost sight of their own missions that kept them in business in the first place.
What about you, Heidi? Have you got an input there?
My dog does. Hold on.
Yeah.
He's barking. That's why I was muting.
Yeah, well, I have a dog too that does exactly the same thing.
It's the same thing. Well, not to interrupt you, Brian, but what I was thinking when both you, Robert, and Brian were speaking was, I got the hit. My family and I, my giant and I, got the hit 2021. Perhaps it's time to scoot, but we're doing big work here. I left motion picture industry, but I knew there was more that needed to be amplified here. So we moved to like the outskirts. Like I can walk 10 minutes and I'm in no Wi-Fi, but I'm still LA County. So we got ourselves to a place where we felt comfortable. There's a lake nearby, all this kind of stuff. And we're like, we're supposed to be here. But I tell you what, yesterday, did any of you see any of that footage of the coastline from San Diego up to San Fran? I think higher. Mm-hmm. fell for a little bit of fear porn, but I also was trying to tune into it, and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay. And then we knew rain was coming. So I just felt like, oh, is this the setup for that big one? You don't know. So it was like a fright or flight moment that really got focused. And we basically both said, well, then we die. That's just, we don't live anywhere else. We're here now. We're doing what we're doing, and that's not in our hands right now. So I had some extra cookies.
That always helps. That always helps. No
I had
matter
a
what.
great night, and I'm just like, just
Choc chip, I
keep
had
up.
a choc chip.
Yeah. I just kept that vibe up, but anyway, I could go into a whole motion picture rant, but I won't.
Yeah.
But Heidi, I think this brings us in a whole, discussion of like prepping and things like that are near and dear to my heart for sure.
Yeah.
That's why we're here at high desert mountain, high inland ground, and I can't give people advice out there on what to do. I can only say what myself and my compatriots are doing and what's working and what's not working for us. Ideally, you've got a network of people who maybe you don't have that survival ranch up in Canada on 160 acres with 80 of it clear cut and it's green and pristine, but maybe you have friends who are, since you are hopefully on, you're on the outskirts of LA, if crap were to go down, maybe you'd be able to get in the family wagon in time to get out of Dodge. It would be a nice place, at least have a destination in mind. And
that would,
us,
yeah.
and us with our networks and our reach of people, now it's just finding the right people and then connecting each other and then getting each other working with each other on a principled manner towards a shared goal.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, and that's it. And we do have this little game plan for a long term, like if it's even possible to leave our area, because we're thinking you'd be locked down for a while. I'm pretty much on, if not near the fault. And but what's so cool is we moved to a neighborhood, all patriots. I mean, they're all locked and loaded. We're surrounded by Teamsters. I have generators up the wazoo. I got first responders on our, in our neighborhood, and they're all looking out for each other. If there's a random scream or something happens, everyone's on it.
Until they start shooting each other. Until they start shooting each other for the last toilet roll. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Well, that's when my son comes out with his hand crochet. Here, use this.
This is what I don't understand. I hear this prepping stuff. I mean, I'm very much a naturalist. I like to get out in the wilderness and go camping, and I know how to do survival. I've done a survival course many years ago. But who wants to live in a?
I've been married 3 times.
Okay, so I can speak to this, Mr. B. It really, I'd say, like all good answers, it all depends. It really depends on what your scenario is for your quote unquote end of the world scenario. Okay, in my opinion, and according to all the chatter, spiritual and otherwise that I've collected, I believe in our timeline, in this timeline, nuclear war is off the table. Okay.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay? So I don't think that's going to happen. I think that there are too many high-tech advanced forces.
Yeah. Don't you, doesn't, when you hear nuclear, doesn't it sound like that's so last century?
More games.
Or they're trying to get you riled up.
Right?
Well,
I mean,
well,
it's like, really? Nuclear? That's what you're going to use?
Yeah,
with
but
all
now
this other
they've got
shit you've got, sonic weapons, light weapons. I mean, EMPs. You don't. I mean, I remember back in the 70s there was the neutrino bomb. Do you remember that?
Yep, Jimmy Carter killed it,
and that just took out all biological stuff and left everything else standing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, where did that go? They don't have that still.
They've actually got a bomb that's non-nuclear that destroys everything within a 5-kilometer radius.
Yeah.
But
nothing rots.
Yeah.
Just sucks up the air within 5 kilometers. You just.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Brian. What were you saying now?
Well, so I chalk that one up into one of the, out of 64 major timeline scenarios, there's 40 that are going to be positive, and there's like 14 that are nasty and like Mad Max kind of ish, for
Uh-huh.
Australia down there. So, and I'd say that's one of the bad ones, but we're not in that timeline. So hurrah, great for us. What do I foresee? I foresee, and not to generate fear porn, but so this is what I call the bad news, good news, bad news, or good news, bad news, good news briefing. How's that? The bad news is that in a lot of ways we're entering into, for at least several decades, a children of men scenario. And we're already entering into that with declining birth rates in all major industrialized nations, and even a lot of the non-industrial ones. And then now, with all the latest medical shenanigans especially, yes, we're definitely entering into that phase. And with that, you have what's called a decivilization event. What happens when you have an aging population where your skilled workforce that knows how to run the trains, build the trains, make the factories, take down the factories, run the factories, fix the factories, they're all going, and you've got, our millennials that Heidi is valiantly doing to help them and the children after them, the indigo and crystals and rainbow kids emerging.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's going to be a crap show, if you will.
That's why they're rushing
That
into
makes sense.
robotics. That's why
Yeah.
they're
That
rushing
makes
into
sense.
robotics now.
Yeah, and they were already trying to do that in Japan with their aging population, hoping they could have robots that could pick up older people out of bed and get them to the bathroom and get them to the kitchen and get them back to bed, right? And we'll see how that works out. And then, so that's the bad news. The good news is that if you make it to like 2030, in my humble opinion, then you are part of rebuilding Earth 2.0, the new Earth.
Yes.
Okay, we now have access to clean, free energy and maybe some anti-gravity technology and medical bed technology. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, and so why would you want to be around after like the crap show from now to 2030? Well, if you can be around to rebuild and get us into our Star Trek future and make that reality, I think that's why. And so that's basically where a lot of our vision and motivation lies up here.
Yeah,
What about
it's-
you,
Yeah.
Chastity? Chastity, come on now. Let's
Awesome.
give Chastity a go.
Oh, I
There she is.
100%. I 100% agree with him. My intuition screams at me all the time. I know I need to be prepping. I know I'm in a position right now, but I know that's coming. It's always, I know that's something but I do agree with him. I believe we're anchoring in something very beautiful, but we got to get through the ugly to get there. I do not think it's all doom and gloom. And I don't think there's going to be nuclear either, because I think there's higher vibrational beings, or they're not going to let, there's two other way too many beings and dimensions involved in all this. Nuclear and all that's not going to go down. But I do think we're anchoring in something very beautiful. We just got to get through the ugly to get there.
Yes.
I
Boom.
agree. I
Yep.
agree. And what about
And-
you, Judd? Sorry. Yes, sorry.
Oh no, just super quick. The preppy, don't get too overwhelmed by that either. I mean, that's like the Cali staple. We got a bag in the car, we got a bag here, we got a bag by the front door. Just the basics, your waters, the main, and yeah.
See, thank you for telling me that.
You can
Sorry,
get like the
I'm-
warming thing. There's a really tight kit I have, like this big, and I could survive like a month on that, and with a
Okay.
warming cloth and one per household, one per bean kind of thing. But it's but just knowing it's there is peace. But I mean, I've been here 23 years. So
I will
What about
say,
you?
I do
Oh, sorry.
apologize. I will
Sorry.
say that that's the
All right.
one thing I try not to be in fear, but that's the one thing that does make me really nervous because I know how serious it is, and I know what we're going towards right now. I know what future we are looking at here, and I completely agree with what Brian is saying. So
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
sorry, Jim, I'll get back to you in a sec, mate. But what I found in Australia, what's really hitting the general public now is that they're talking about resetting the financial system. We're going to do away with cash. We're going to electronic banking. It's all going to be done in credits rather than cash. So I mean, it's not really going to make any change to my life because, hey, I don't carry cash. But you know, I've got money in my wallet at the moment, but normally my average every day, I don't carry cash. I always work on the electronic system, card, pay me bills by internet. You know, I pay everything via the internet, you know, and even go and get petrol in my car. I swipe the card sort of thing. But we're going to lose control of our financial in a different way where if you don't toe the line, they're going to make you starve. They have the authority to, let's stuff up his bank account. Let's put a freeze on it. You can't buy food. You can't put petrol in your car. You can't. It restricts everything you do. You know, so until you comply, you know.
Well,
and the issue, there's a much broader thing at play in my opinion and from my perspective. Everything that there is going to be digitized, i.e. tokenized, is really the thing, and that's. I'm into this right now. I have a website, sysxtech.com, which is where I'm taking this digital ledger technology, blockchain, which is what cryptocurrencies, they only exist because there is this blockchain, and integrating that with knowledge systems and expert systems using assisted intelligence instead of artificial to actually leverage and manage the control, the sovereignty of that data. Because that's what's missing in the current system. What we have today is all of our shit scattered across hundreds of platforms. Passwords here, numbers there, identities there. I mean, it's everywhere. And what people don't realize is wherever your information is out in the wild, it's not yours, it's theirs, whoever's holding it. And so the lack of having control over that digital data is what the current system is designed for. In fact, it's evolved and morphed into this chaotic crap of corruption. But nonetheless, the technology that's there is, we're already digitized. I haven't had any even coins in my pockets, probably most of 2023. Haven't needed it. I've been able to do everything I need, get all my supplies, do whatever I need to do, communicate, do the things I need to do without anything that had to do with a fiat currency. It was all digital. So this transformation is going to give us the remedy, in my opinion, of what you're talking about them having the control to allow you to have, to allow them to give you the rights and the control of you as they see fit. The real importance and the real event that's going to happen as this digital thing unfolds is it's going to be a distributed, trustless system that the individual will own. So right now, you think about if you had your identity. I did a show on the previous Nextcast series called "Your Identity is Your Currency." That was back in 2020. So we're seeing that now, and what we're seeing is a great big fight between the established infrastructure and institution of financial control to a decentralized. You will become your own bank. Mm-hmm. You will have your own ability to manage and control your assets because they will be tokenized. Ergo, they will be irrefutable. They're immutable.
And of course, you'll see things like credit cards and FPOS cards. All these cards disappear, and you'll have a chip in your hand. You'll be identified with the chip. No, possible.
No. It'll be on your mobile device. It'll be your vault. It'll be the tokenized vault of self. You will have it on your device that you will only be the one who has access to, which we already have. We've got these smartphones, and unless you've got the right biometrics or the code or whatever, you can't get into that device. It's one of the most secure things that's out there, right?
I just laugh because I have the oldest. I would have a flip phone if I could.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
my point is,
agree with you, but still, I understand what you're saying, though.
So my point is that the technology to secure and manage the control over your own stuff is here now.
Can I speak
and that's the replacement of the current system and systems, because it's a whole bunch of cobbled together crap that's held together by baling wire and bubble gum. It can't be fixed. It can't be repaired. It has to be replaced.
Destroyed.
And the technology to do all that is here. The key is giving the people the opportunity and the ability to take control of their own.
And what did you
Because
want to
everything-
say, Brian? Sorry.
But
Yeah,
so-
go ahead, Brian.
Well, speaking to that, it seems like there have been two systems in general that have been bandied about. The powers that be would like to have their central bank digital currency, which is where
Yeah.
they can do the social credit score and kick you out of your bank account, keep you from betting on the Eagles that weekend because you jaywalked earlier and their AI facial recognition caught that. Right.
Sounds like re-education camp like they do in China, doesn't it?
Well, see, this is the thing, and this is what kills me. Yes and no, because in China, people will say, it's the communists and it's a communist party. But as far as I can tell, the CCP has been sold out or supplanted to the Rothschilds and the Illuminati types. And so when we talk about facial tracking and all that, in one way you might say, oh, that's a communist state. No, really, it's more of a authoritarian, totalitarian state.
Yeah.
And,
What is?
and that's like a 15-minute World Economic Forum thing. That wasn't ever on Mao's playbook as far as I can tell. But I'm just saying, as a Chinese American guy who studied a little bit of revolutionary history. Now, the other side of that, if not the central bank digital currency, would be, I've heard this kicked around and I've heard people poo-pooing it. I've also heard people glorifying it, the quantum financial system. Okay, so is this real? Is it not real? And then if it's real, is it really run by the good guys, or is it a Trojan horse that's not really, it's real, but it's not, the people running it do not have our best interests at heart. That remains to be seen. But I think the quantum financial system in the end is much more what the professor is speaking to, where we, and ideally all transactions, the whole system is totally transparent, quick, transactional, no one owns it. Your information's your own, but everything's integrated properly in a just manner that we all could agree befits a good society.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
and that
happens
is
if we get
exactly
some-
what it's going to give us. And that's the thing that I think that on the fear porn side, and I'll just say this about your point about the CBDC, and I think part of the turning point that we're seeing is that there's been an awareness on a more general level of shit. There's stuff's afoot that is not right. There's wrong. There's a bunch of wrong going on. And you don't have to be awake or a part of that process to see it. It's become so blatant and so obvious that there it is. It's like, whoop, there it is. Oh shit, there's more of that. And it's become so blatant. Going back to the comment I was talking about with, do you see as much incompetence as I do? Because it's just everywhere. People, it's interesting how much stuff is broken because the people are broken.
Yeah.
And there are
but
broken
listen, has
people
anybody ever?
in broken systems, and that's just amplifying, the chaos that we're seeing.
But
But
my
the-
major concern is, my major
ahead.
concern about all this is that what happens now? This is the what if factor. What happens if we are hit by a severe solar storm? All electronics get taken out.
Screwed.
Totally different issue.
No,
Yeah.
It happened in Canada some years ago, where half of Canada was blacked out. A lot of people died. Now, how much more is it going to affect your banking system? You can't touch it. Yeah, your account's gone, disappeared. Sorry, it's just a solar storm blew it away.
So,
it's-
Mr. B, to answer your question, I think that's quite possible with all the increased solar activity that we're due for, apparently.
exactly.
Whatever happens, whether it's a central bank digital currency or a quantum financial system or one and then the other, we can still, that scenario can happen. But if we are on a quantum financial system at that time, which is presumably backed by real gold or silver or other real value assets, then even if we do get hit by solar storms temporarily, it'll be okay. If we have a central bank digital
Not if your account
currency-
disappears.
well,
on the
no, but
electronic side.
it won't disappear, because if it's a quantum system, it'll be backed up, and you can have underground vaults, and then
Okay, fair
that information will not truly disappear. It can be re-disseminated
Yeah.
after said solar event.
Mhm.
And you have to remember too, and this is one of the most important things, as I was saying, in the current system and the infrastructure, our stuff is scattered across hundreds of systems, and we have the control to it because we've given it, and we've done it through some kind of authorized access through password or whatever. That works. That is only hacked if somebody gets your stuff, gets your ID, and no cryptos, for example, have ever been hacked. Wallets have been hacked. The exchanges have been hacked, but you can't hack the data on a blockchain. It's 256 AES, and the quantum maybe, but
Speaking of the darker side, though, all these horror stories are popping up of people who, I've got $30 billion of Bitcoin on this laptop, and the next thing you know, the dude's getting bonked over the head and laptop's gone. Or word on the street is a dude that's got $30 billion of Bitcoin, and then he's the next.
Yeah, but you have to have the seed phrase. It's not. I mean, the whole. Anyway, the security is there. Trust me on that. But here's the point. Your point B is about your account's gone. If you don't have your account backed up and you don't have access to it on your own, then you're asking for it. That's number one. Number two, that's usually never happens even in today's banking. But that's the point about the way the current system is broken and the way the new one will solve that problem. That solar flare hits, takes out, and by the way, the majority, first of all, I don't think it's going to happen because, and I'll just throw this little turd out there, I think the sun is conscious, and I think that it is purposely mitigating the flares in our direction for its own reasons. Separate turd. The majority of what we've been able to find using the scientific tools and techniques and toys that we have and the metrics is that when these things do happen, it takes out only a portion as far as the electrical impact of the planet. So, for example, let's say that one pops off and it hits the Pacific and takes out Australia. Well, each side of the Pacific is going to have a less of an impact, and will probably have clear, if it's less impact, it'll have a quicker rebuild. So you have to put those into context of the framework of all the stuff. I'm more concerned not about a cosmic energy event like a CME. I'm more concerned about an EMP that's domestic, that's terrestrial based, that's intentional, because what that does in the disruption of stuff can be extremely impactful, depending on how bad the systems are that are hit, are affected. You look at infrastructure with the current electrical infrastructure and the water systems and gas. All of those are the ones the most critical, and we really don't apparently haven't put as much importance on those systems as we probably should. For a long time, we've been neglecting that infrastructure.
Shall we see what Jim's wakey, Jim? You still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, you're not going to give him a turn, are you? Come on.
Yes.
No, I mean,
Yes.
I have 4 months worth of food. I live behind our house is a wildlife corridor, and I know I'm not the only one with a good rifle, but there was about a 5-point buck went running through there yesterday afternoon, broad daylight, And my dog usually alerts us to the fact that something's coming, whether it's a javelina or a coyote or whatever. But if the let's say Chicago or the New York, Washington, D.C. metroplex area, I mean, that part of the world, if it got hit with a corona mass ejection at the level of the Keratin event, what was it, 1859,
Mm-hmm.
where it caught telephone poles on fire and telegraph, not teletype, not voice communication, but
Morse
telegraph.
code, Morse code over the
telegraph
wire.
wires. All the
It was-
telegraph wires got fried.
Yeah.
It was out for 8 hours.
Yeah.
In the late 1950s, they did it in an atmospheric detonation of a small nuclear device south of Johnson Island, near out of Kwajalein, and it disrupted all phone, television, and radio communication in Hawaii, 1,500 miles away, for most of the day. For over 8 hours, they had problems. So a big EMP, whether it's someone who stole a Boeing 777-300 extended range, like Flight 360 or 370, whatever it was. That could be, you could put a EMP device in an aircraft like that. You could fly it over with a transponder off, because that's what they look at. And, you can shadow an Emirates airplane or someone where they're going. And as you get close to the coast, you just start climbing. You get up to above 45,000 feet, and in a critical spot. I'm sure it has been mapped out by multiple countries. And then you detonate a massive EMP device. I mean, you're going to fry the airplane
scary.
and you in there, yeah. But that would take out. I mean, all that critical infrastructure would be down permanently, because the riots, the food riots, and everything else.
I mean, I just see this mental picture of, like water stops being pumped. You can't have showers because there's no water pumping. Your sewage doesn't move. Now your toilets are going to be overflowing. The streets are going to be flooded with sewage and garbage and God knows what, no water, no electricity. I mean, it's going to be freaking mayhem, I mean, I remember not so long ago, I think it was about 2 to 3 years ago, they actually in the American Congress, they're actually talking about side by side putting analog generators and things in next to the computerized stuff, because they say, because we have an EMP, I mean, we're stuck. Half your transport's gone because it's all electronic, electronic emissions.
All the transport gone now. I mean,
yeah, but if you want to get around, get a 1960 truck, with an old distributor and points, and that's the only thing that will work.
Yeah,
that would be the only thing that will work. Anything with a computer chip in it, forget about it. I mean,
which is everything today, absolutely everything.
Exactly right. And as you say, Jim, an EMP, I mean, I'll throw you back into the Stone Age. Literally would.
Yeah, and within 30 days, I think 90% of the population would be dead or dying of some sort.
Or cannibalism.
That's
a scary thought. Cannibalism.
And then, I mean, this is as apocalyptic as you could even imagine. Because there's not going to be very many survivors. What is it? The idiot from Fake Book. He's building
Zuckerhorse.
He's building. I think I read a $6 billion underground bunker that will sustain him for up to 3 years.
Well, go back to the main principle, Jim. It's the survival of the fittest. That's dog eat dog, the top dog wins. And that's how it's going to be.
Yep.
And it's sad. It's sad. Anyway, let's not think negative about this because I want to think positive and
Yeah.
go into the
Ho,
go into
ho, ho, Merry
and-
Christmas.
no. Oh, well, I forgot. Hey, yeah, Santa's been good to me this year. I think what we should be looking at is families, happiness, and togetherness, and nice things. You know, I mean, I'm a soft at heart, and I believe family is number one. At the end of the day, family is number one, and friends. It's got to be. It's got to be, and it's our attitude. It's our focus. We want to put negatives into this world. We're going to get it back. Let's throw out the positives. And it's like I always say. You walk towards somebody with a smile on your face. 9 out of 10, they smile back at you, and that's a fact. You want to have a grumpy look in your face. You know, walking towards somebody, they go, "Sorry," they don't want to look. They don't want to make eye contact. So it's up to us to put out the positive smiles, the positive attitudes, and that's only going to come. You reap what you sow, and that's a fact. You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
It's a puppy party.
Aw, that's
Oh, let's have a look.
Mine are in the other room.
Hey, a
This
golden
is
retriever.
Bo.
It's golden retriever. Is it? No, it's not a beagle. It's a beagle.
This,
It's a
He's-
Cocker
we-
Spaniel.
yeah, it's a spaniel. We found him running
Oh,
up the
okay.
on ramp to the 101. He was a
Oh.
stray. Rescued
Wow,
him.
what a score!
He was like overbred or something. But yeah, he's a trip. And I'm looking at yours, Brian.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, hold it. I got.
I'll show you when you do you want to go down?
Hey,
I'm gonna
that looks like
drop it down.
that looks like an Aussie sheepdog there, mate.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
she's
I
half-
don't know if I can get Scarlet here. So.
Yeah, he's a half mini Australian Shepherd and a half mini Border Collie.
Ah, see, that's the positive intermission there.
That's
But-
right.
But you know,
Exactly.
a positive spin on everything you're saying is like as a parent and all that. Okay, so that happened. A, B, and C. Like you got to have your plan in place, kind of, and that gives you the peace, so that you don't hear that kind of information and then freak out, doomsday, and lock the door. You don't enjoy life that you do have. So if I tell you, I mean, I used to early 2000s. Was it Max Egan or Max Egan?
This is my baby.
And look, there he is. There he is. Oh,
Aw.
aw.
I have a fuzzy background on.
Jim's
great.
dog is
He
in the
doesn't
witness
like it.
protection program, so we have to blur his identity.
She was a feral street dog who
Aw.
had been lived on the streets of Phoenix for over a year from the time she was weaned until she was picked up,
Oh, wow.
and she had no human involvement. So she doesn't respond to any command except for treatsy, outside, 90 bedtime. And those are the ones she responds to. Nothing else. We've been
Oh,
calling her
did you-
Scarlet.
Did you
We've had
say
her for
that she
3
responds
years.
to those, or you respond?
Audience Village there in Phoenix had her for 4 months. Housebroker and whatever. And she is just
All right.
the most loving dog. I give my wife a hug, and she gets right in between us because she wants to
Aw.
be part of it.
That's cute.
And my sweet wife, and she is one of the sweetest women in the world, putting up with me. We've battled cancer 3 times now,
Oh.
so hopefully. But she never really had a dog, and after she had her right kidney removed in 2018, she said, "I treated her so well during everything else." And says, "I can't deny you a dog." And Scarlet was our destiny to have her, and she is the sweetest thing, and she has her routine, and she has me well trained. I'm the treatsy guy. So I'm on my computer. I spend a lot of my life on this friggin' computer. But she'll come up to me and she'll lick the back of my arm. If I ignore her, she paws me. And if I continue to ignore her, she'll bark. She has a loud bark. I got to put these on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I was without a dog for 15 years, and that's a long, long time. I absolutely love dogs. They're, you know, what is true love? You put your wife or girlfriend in the trunk of your car on a hot day, and your dog, you drive around all day long, and when you open up the trunk lid, who's happy to see you?
Yeah. 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 Yep.
Oh.
You get home from work, your wife looks
Love
at you and says, "Ugh," and the dog waggles its tail at you. And you
Oh
think, well,
yeah,
the
oh, I
dog's
love
glad
you,
to
love
see
you, love you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'll tell you something funny. I want to ask you girls, you got to tell me, you girls will know this. Why is it so important for a woman to always tell the man to put the toilet seat down? Now, that really gets me. It really.
Who will fall in?
Why
Yeah.
is it so important to put the toilet seat down?
Well, sometimes we get up in the middle of the night. We got to run there, and we may not turn the light on all the time. We may go right on in there. So, you know,
Yeah.
it can be important.
Can fall in. I'm working on my little man with that, but my giant, I'm spoiled. I don't have to deal with that because he's so tall he has to sit.
Yeah. No, it's all I only asked because
There you go.
My wife gave me a 15-minute lecture last night how to put the toilet seat down. So,
You did what to her?
fun.
Yeah.
I tell you, she's a sweetie. I tell you, yeah, I mean, she is.
Oh.
She's. No, I just look at her and go, yeah, I know, Mary. Well, why do you do it? I know. I'm a bad boy. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
agree 100%. But
No, to get back to the subject we were talking about. Seriously, if we get hit either a man-made or from that big old ball out there, if the United States or the East Coast or the West Coast, somewhere where there's a critical part of what keeps us humming, is hit with a corona mass ejection, yeah, there may be things that are backed up, but absolutely nothing else is going to work. You may have the backup for it, but when no one's Tesla or other EV car or a car that has any electronics except for the 49 Studebaker runs. Yeah, but then you go to the gas station because they're running low on gas. Of course, no one else is driving. And, oh, hey, sorry, I can't help you. Everything here is computer controlled. I said, can't. There's no hand pumping gas pumps anymore.
and all of a sudden, those museum pieces become state of the art.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
For sure.
And the only ones that won't notice it are the Mennonites, the Quakers, and what was the other ones?
The Amish.
All right. Yeah.
Amish.
Amish, yeah. I should know. I lived in Minnesota for 27 years, so but that is home. That's where my babies are. So
No.
I have the most wonderful son in the world. I have a daughter that I think she is from another planet. I mean, I honestly believe that. I have 5 grandsons, and yeah, you can see that was just a little white screen. Yeah. So, I can't have any clutter anywhere in the house.
At
but
least you don't get a wet seat.
you put your hand down because you're going to go, balance and sit down, or you reach at the back of the toilet as you're going to sit down. And I notice there's a seat up here. I got to bring it down.
We had a situation at the Learning Center with the Pea Bandit. We started calling it, and we had put wanted posters of the Pea Bandit because someone is just missing. Like,
No.
dude, like at a party. And we go K through 8. So we were working really hard trying to narrow it down. And there are a couple suspects, but the reality is they were just too excited. They went in, they had to run back out. They wanted to go do some more. Like they just
Future firemen.
They hadn't finished on the way out, huh?
yeah. But it's a big deal. Those little pea bandits. Oh, do you want a funny little recall? Okay, this is probably I'm not trying to go doomsday, but I have to tell you a story I just saw yesterday. Local. the high desert, Lancaster had a news blip that their mayor, their authorities were saying, yeah, we officially launched our new AI tracking. Any person walking in Lancaster or leaving, we will know. I mean, they were just announcing it on the news. I thought that was a big to do because I haven't heard anyone like just say, oh yeah, we're tracking and don't worry, you know, we're safe. I'm like, what does that mean? No more pickpockets and car robberies, or I don't know, but Lancaster's announcing their rollout, so that was my
What's
turn of the table out of the blue.
What's
Lancaster's in the high desert. Sorry, Lancaster, like y'all should know. Lancaster, Palmdale's like the high desert up here.
Okay.
And it's communities up here, just right after Los Angeles. It goes up there, on the way to the Air Force bases and stuff.
California 14.
Yep. Yeah. See, that was a callback that didn't make sense at that time. Sorry, folks. I think I was just holding on to that juicy turd for too long. I'm like, do they want to know this?
It was good.
Got to put it out there and see what happens.
Well, I just want look. I just want to say, look. Thank you, everybody. Look, if you're watching the show, please give us a thumbs up, and one of these little fellas, give me the old thumbs up and tickle that little fella down there and subscribe, and be more than welcome to send you a link sometime, and you never know, a reminder. Come and watch me do our thing. Watch me mumble, what do you want to call it? See, I can't even think straight today. Must be what's in my coffee.
You got to feel sorry for him.
I feel like a real geriatric today. I really do. Honestly, I don't know.
Heidi, what were you going to say?
Well,
Yeah,
I
sorry,
see
Heidi.
Sovereign Wildman there. You know, he's bringing up Ventura. And Sovereign, I wanted to ask you if you knew that. It was San Diego all the way up to the Bay, like San Fran Bay, and I think higher. But there was an earthquake, too. That there was, so there's, I'm hearing multiple things, and it felt like some of the plates moved a little bit. So wondering if that was the wave. I know what you're saying, unless it's like a big sonic boom underwater, which happens all the time. I don't know, but I see what he was saying. Ventura. I just wanted to tell you, it was all the way up. I mean, San Diego up.
The wave action was so intense it could have been considered an earthquake if it hit something of the side of a breakwater or whatever, something that's not movable. And doesn't absorb the energy, just repels it. I guess they had problems in Hawaii with incredibly huge waves as well.
Yeah.
And for those who are going to be in Oahu in next month, Bob Lazar is going to be there.
Oh.
It's his birthday, and he's turning 65, and he's retiring from United Nuclear. He turned it over to his right-hand man, been working for him for 10 years. And he said he knows everything, and so he's just going to enjoy himself. And his movie's coming out, and it's been really been a lot of money spent on this. To tell it, not the Jeremy doorbell, or was it? Yeah,
we know who you're talking about, the doorbell. Yeah.
Not that style, but I mean, really, we're gonna have an opportunity in probably in 3D to walk through into S4 and to see everything was there, walk around it, go into it. Bob has a photographic memory, and he remembered absolutely everything he saw. So that's all being replicated, and it's going to be there's 3 parts to what's going to happen. One part is the movie, and then there's 2 other parts that I'm excited about. So it's going to be fun, and I keep trying to get him on a program that I'm on. And I always contact his wife, because Bob never answers his phone and he never replies to his emails. So I contact his wife, Joy, and I got hold of her here a couple of weeks ago, and said, yeah, you and Rosemary coming up, spend some time with us. I said, no. I said, well, Bob's retiring, and his birthday's next month, January. And so we're going to go to Hawaii. Would you and Rosemary like to join us? And I said, she has, an MRI and a bunch of other stuff in January. And I said, I would love to, trust me, but no. So he said, well, tell me where to go. And I said, since I was the curator at the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor, I said, you got to go there. And I told him where, if you want to be in the Hawaiian part of Waikiki, I said, I lived next to the Hilton Hawaiian Village for 4 years. So at the Ilokai, I said, that'd be a good place. It's expensive, but he has the money. And I told him, I told him where to go, what to do. I said, rent a car, drive around the island. Decide, if you want to do some snorkeling, Hanama Bay, you go in there. And I gave him all the information. And he said, you can go to Maui. The coolest part, as far as I was concerned, was Lahaina, and it doesn't exist anymore. But you do have Hana on the windward side, the north coast. He said, it is the road to Hana is a real butt squisher. I mean, you're sitting in and your butt is really puckered up, because in some places you have 1,000 feet and there's no guardrail. And there's places where the speed limit is 3 miles an hour and little 1-lane roads. And you're going like this. I told him, where to go. And then said, we get there, also you can go to top of Haleakala, which is about 12 miles away as a crow flies. And they get 400 inches of rain at Black Bog there near Hana. 400 inches of rain a year, and 12 miles away they get 10 inches. Yeah. So, but I told them to go to the Big Island. They had to go to see Kilauea. I didn't tell them to go see the cousin brothers. And I don't think he's under contract. He's not going to talk to anybody unless he gets the okay from the people who are promoting him. So
that's understandable, isn't it?
But
listen, I want to show some photographs here. We actually showed them before, Professor.
Are these the ones from your OnlyFans account?
What?
No, mine.
Oh, Jim's old. All right, now we're talking.
No. Listen, it's when I was on the Robert Khalil show, we actually showed my UFOs. Now, something interesting came up on the internet this week, which I just want to share briefly. It's about, I'll have to share screen just on with. Give me a sec, guys. Give me a sec. They call it a flare, a solar flare. Could it be a solar flare? Just on a sec. There we go.
And while you're pulling that up, Terrence, we have like solar photographers who are taking pictures of like giant motherships coming out of the sun, charging up and then flying away. And then I'm reading intel on what those are and who those are.
Okay, well, just keep an eye on this one here, right? And now, just here we go. Here we go. Share. Okay.
And
here we go.
And Brian, after he's done here, I've got something I'd like to show you to get your thoughts on.
Okay, this one is supposed to be a solar flare. I'll bring it up, right? They said possibly, right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's a fact. I mean, I don't know. But what I find, they'll do a larger, look at the larger one, which I blew up. Now, if you look in the center of that, if you can see, you can actually just make out, it's like the circular area. My imagination, maybe so, but the uncanny shape. Now, this one is the UFO that I took in 2016. That was on one photograph, and when I can actually this is the photograph I want to bring up. Right. There's two UFOs. That's the large one. That's a small one there by the building where you can actually see I'm circling around.
What's the
Now that-
line in the front?
Here,
Yeah.
that there's a pole. That's all. That
Oh,
is just a
okay.
pole, right? There's nothing on it. There was a light on it, but it was busted. But there's nothing there. But I can show a video that it shows you on the video that they're moving past the pole, and it was going past. And just before it went out of sight, I took a snapshot, right? Because it just looked like a star. This would have been about 3 miles away, and that would have been hovering over Stirling Naval Base, the Australian Navy Naval Base, Stirling. That was at
What time of the day?
20 to 5 in the morning. 4:40.
In the morning?
4:40. Yes, in the morning before I started work. That 2016. Right now, I just and it is a closer look of that. Well, I can't. You're closer. Can't blow it up. Okay.
Wow.
Now the thing I'm getting at is that it's the shapes. It's the shapes of them all. Because if you look at this one, this is which I've showed on Robert Khalil's show. That is a capping stone of the sun god Ra. Notice it's actually got wings that represents. It's got feathers that represents flight. It's got the circle and the shape of it in general. You can look at that carefully. And wait.
They had to get their ideas somewhere.
Right. Now, but what I'm getting at is that if you look at it, you can just make out on that so-called solar flare, the similarities in size. It's just that I thought I just wanted to bring it up because why I want to ask is get your guys' opinion on this. Be honest, what's your opinion?
My understanding is that there are galactic civilizations that are very excited to see the Earth and humanity ascending at this time. And so, just like you've heard the phrase greatest show on Earth, it's like Earth right now is the greatest show in the universe. And so the suns, apparently all stars are interconnected to each other. And there's an intergalactic portal system where you can go through the suns and come out of them in the different star systems. And Ian Banks, before he passed away from pancreatic cancer, apparently a couple of years ago, wrote a book called The Algebraist, where that was a major plot line. It was a super old advanced civilization, and everyone was trying to figure out how they got between worlds so quickly or effectively. And it turns out they were portaling through all the suns.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow,
Cool.
So that
amazing. Sorry, carry
that
on.
whole concept fits in with the frequency physics model, which is the reason, how energy manifests itself from consciousness, which is where everything comes from. And if indeed you have the capability to go into one frequency and go from that frequency into another one, you can essentially shift frequencies. To me, that would explain the shape-shifting concept. It would also connect the telepathic component that seems to be very prevalent in all of the accounts of the different cosmic cousins that we've encountered, and in particular, how they navigate their vehicles and their craft. There's a regular meme about they're using consciousness to fly their stuff. So I have, when I look at what you can observe and then you look at the knowledge stack for that subject, solar dynamics, geomagnetics, whatever it might be, you see that there's, the way in which this perspective is packaged, the way it's delineated and given distinction and differentiation. It's what it is. It is it, and it exists. And you go, each one of the things that you encountered that you have that experience with is something that you add to your pattern recognition stack. And you try to see, does it match up with anything else that I already have in my pattern warehouse? Because that's how we learn, is by the association. The mind works in a pattern recognition model. And patterns are everywhere, cycles within cycles, geometry, supergeometry. The quantum physics realm has finally gotten to the point where they're thinking everything is in a wave. Nothing is solid. Everything vibrates and has a frequency. Heidi.
Woohoo. Love that. Love that shit.
So that vibration and frequency is something that's how reality manifests. That's how your mind manifests, how your body manifests, how you become and participate in the reality that you perceive. It's very simple. It's not complex. There's no theology in it. There's no science in it. It's just observation, basically the observational neutrality of what it is you're experiencing. Because when you just look at, well, what's its nature? What's its habits, its characteristics?
Look, here's a thought. Imagine an alien walking into a room, right? 4 people there, right? They communicate telepathically, these aliens. Now, all of a sudden, there's 4 people with 1,000 thoughts going through their freaking mind. Can you imagine the hash they're getting? I mean, they're not getting, like, let's for example, we learn to move a limb. We can move left to right and vice versa. We can march up and down with our feet and swing our arms. We can control our minds, but we can't control our thoughts. Obviously, we say something, but we're thinking something at the same time. I mean, we think ahead before we speak, as we might say.
And that's my whole point about, that's my whole point about, you're never in the now. There is no now. There's only next.
Yeah, but to an alien,
I think that if they have
hashed, it'll be hashed. It's a lot of dirty noise coming through. I mean, how do you cipher all this? Oh, shut up, please, for a moment.
I think that's where some of the very unique and important characteristics that where AI, or at least the software hardware model that we call AI today, can never do. And that is all of the essentially the series of eyes. It can't have intent. It can't have insight. It can't have intuition.
It's crazy. Like,
those are all things that require a biological construct. If you look at, and again, if you just look at the universe, and this is the way they used to look at the universe, and this is where our current science models screw up everything. And this is in my opinion, okay? This is Robert's rant, and it's only mine. So if, in my opinion, they're all looking for the wrong thing in the wrong place for the wrong reasons. And that's because the model has got them focused on what's known as the grit model, the atomic model. There's always some little nut of a nugget, and they keep bouncing them together and try to find the smallest one because they think that is going to be the essence of God and the existence. Like, no, you're only going to be able to go so far, and it goes so much further because it's frequencies. It's not nuggets. That's the problem with the current thinking and the sciences today. In physics, doesn't matter. And so what they do is they establish these assumptions of what the scientific dogma or accepted model is for whatever the hell it is, medicine, space, whatever. Everything that they look at is based through that kind of lens. The fluidity and the dynamics of motivation and intent are not included in that. All of those things get piled onto it, and get it all worked up and create a bunch of mess. So my point on the consciousness thing is, once you think about everything in frequencies, then all the stuff like what Brian, his research is just loaded with frequency sets across all kinds of things. Am I right?
Yeah. In fact, it kind of all goes back for me to the law of one material, where we're talking about densities of consciousness, right? And we're if you are at a higher density or frequency, then maybe you can hang around the sun and not get burnt or fried up or whatnot. Mr. B, if I could share my screen, or I could just put my camera on it. I've got here a photo from exopolitics.org. This is a great work that Dr. Michael Salla has been doing. Not that one. How do I present? I'm going to present. Well, I guess that's, let me see. Well, here, I was going to do it the next way. You see this right here? Sun is a portal for hyperdimensional space travel based on sacred geometry. And it's from exopolitics.org. And then right there, the giant circle ball thing, okay? And then not only that, you see the string. It's almost like it's sucking energy or material directly off the sun.
Plasma out of it.
Filament,
and after a while, that filament breaks, and then this ball just zips away. And
I've seen the video of that.
Yeah, and that's like an Earth-sized spear or something like that. It's like
Big,
huge
actually.
ship, Yeah, it could be big, right? That's got to be ginormous, which is incredible.
So to that point, I want to share something as well. And this just came in the last day or so. And I have a hypothesis of what 12 hours ago. I have a hypothesis of what this is. And I think let's watch it and see what he says, and we'll go from there. Let me see. Where's my present? Share screen. That's the one. All right. You see it up there?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Tell me if you can hear it and watch what happens here. This is quite fascinating.
84,000 feet, going back down in time to say 57,000 feet. Now you can see a change in this, guys. Look at that right there. This is the glow of the shock wave, or I guess you would call it like the magnetopause of whatever's causing it. I don't think it's visible to the eye or even to any camera. We're looking at pressure models and wind speed models. And what is this? This is the burn off, but what is this right there? It's one of the most well-known spots that's never been really photographed from space, but it's actually exactly above the true North Pole, the physical pole, not the magnetic pole, but the physical pole of our planet. We'll pull this back just a little bit. We're right into the elevated jet stream that's being pushed up above most of Canada. Look at this trail it's leaving. And we are now at 57,000 feet as far as what we're looking at the model. Let me pull it back, and you can see that the jet stream is actually still bent. And it's got a lot to do with, I think, the solar wind. And the solar wind affects all of the motion of our planet, all of this. And again, we're talking about, if you look at it here, this was well below a couple of days ago, Greenland, and coming across here like that. So it's continuing to push up, which is going to leave the warmer air further north, cooler air further south. And that's what we're seeing. But let me pull this back down to the object in question. I did a video on this back in March of this year. The jet stream was not over this at that time, but I'm going to change heights, and I want to show you something. This is a phenomenon that's both on the North and South Pole. And why do they, in many photographs, satellite images over the Earth, there will be a black spot right here, not showing you that, or now they've gotten to where they Photoshop it and just white it in, blend it in with snow, any satellite images of this area. But forever, they said it was because satellites didn't fly over the pole. So they had to catch side shots and a mosaic of images put together, and it would always leave that hole there. Yeah, but if you look up polar satellites, there's hundreds of them that go right over this on a daily basis. There's something there they don't want us to see. So let's go all the way to the ground, leaving the air and the pressure on. Again, we're going to go down. This would put us at about 33,000 feet where the airlines fly. Now look at the difference. We're going to have to pull it up, but it is something that I think is the reason they're hiding this area. There's a vortex. It appears to be pulling air into it. This is out here where we're seeing the shock right there. But right here, guys, let me get it even closer. These lines are the true pole. Look at that. It appears and we see vortices all over the Arctic, and they change places. They rotate all the way around. This never moves. Never. Now we're going to continue.
That looks like a giant portal
down
floating in the
18,000
sky, sucking in
feet here.
atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it looks like. I'm 50 on 50 on if
Now
that's
let's go
man
down
or
to about
artificial
10,000 feet
phenomenon
below
that's
the
induced,
surface.
or that's some kind of natural.
Well, you've heard,
Mhm.
Brian, you know about Project Ice Cube, right?
Is that the neutrino detector in Antarctica?
Well, neutrino communications.
Weapon.
It's like HARP on steroids.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
so I think that what he's going to show. Let me continue this. He's going to show. Go ahead and put the screen back up there, B. He's going to show the South Pole equivalent.
Back it out, just kind of give you an overall scope of what we're looking at. Very definite.
And they're
spot
directly in line with each other.
right at the top center. It almost looks like the winds are all being pulled into this location. I'm going to keep dropping this down. This would put us at around just about a mile high, not quite.
So
So
5,000 feet above ground
just
level.
an upper atmospheric phenomenon. It does stand out because the jet stream is so heavy right now, because I think the magnetic lines of force on our planet are being affected by the solar winds. Check that out, guys. Pull it back up. This is the top of the planet in the physical pole. Now, I can't help but think, because we have one on the South Pole exactly the same, that the reason they're hiding the images is there is something to the Antarctic expeditions. And I remember seeing a scientist that was on Leak Project maybe a month ago. Some of you guys may have saw it. He said he was on one of these expeditions to the Antarctic, and his job was to let them, or to study why when they went into a cavern that was super wide, almost a mile high, did they have daylight? It was light. I won't say daylight. They had light in there. It was so high that it created weather, just like we've seen in the Superdome before, fog or clouds get up in the very top. And what he discovered was that the glow in the cave, or in this massive cavern, was from bioluminescent objects, more than likely plant. And we've seen it before. You've got it in plankton in the ocean. I've sailed through it at night, glows behind it. You're seeing it in fireflies. Think that's bioluminescence in nature. And that's what he came up with. But I think that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Now, let's go all the way to the surface, right down to it, ground level. In this areas here, there's no mountains that are shaped like this around it. We get the same signature at the South Pole. Let me pull this up. Look at that. That's at ground level. This never moves. Let's go back out to a wider view of the entire thing here. You can see these vortices This is ground level. These are storms, things like that. The U.S. is just down below here, Canada. But this one never moves. These will move depending on elevation. They will change. It's like they're bending and winding like a tornado would. But keep your eyes right there as I pull up.
Sorry about that, guys.
Right there. Look at that. Never moves.
That
With
is
that being
freaky.
said, let's flip this over and look at the Antarctic phenomenon. And this is the physical center. If you put a pencil or a rod all the way through the planet, this would be the center of it. And that's what we're dealing with here. We are at surface level,
From the
same blue phenomenal edge right there. Now, it's not going to burn off at the top because it doesn't have the jet stream over it until it's summertime. I mean, wintertime here. And it's summertime on the South Pole, but look at this surface level. You can see it spinning from the top. Some of it wraps around whatever is causing that burnout effect. Again, why is it showing up on the surface? And then possibly being pulled in to this phenomenon. I don't know what else to call it. All I can think of is the folks that said they've been there. We've seen politicians go there and talk about vast caverns in those areas. Is there something to possibly not hollow earth? Because I don't know if it would go through this all the way from here through to the center because of the heat factors, or is it winding its way through the earth? I don't know. I'd like to hear your input. What I want to do while we're here, though, we're at surface level. Let's go all the way back up to 84,000 feet. Again, you're not getting the burn off because you don't have the jet stream right over it in summertime. Look at that. And I'm going to step it back down from 84 to 60,000 feet. Look at this. What's causing this, guys? What would stay there in that particular location? Dropping in altitude. We are now at 33,000 feet. That's, again, the height of most of your commercial air travel.
That looks like a retina, an eyeball.
Bad hair day.
Back it out a little further.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Look at that.
Wow.
All right, let's go down to about 18,000 feet here. Still very noticeable. I'm going to keep dropping it.
What is the
About
elevation at
10,000
the South
feet.
Pole?
Very noticeable still.
I don't know.
Oh.
I think he's got the coordinates in the description.
I mean, it seems like
Nothing's
that's hovering
normal
in
about it that
the
I can
air
see.
above the
I don't know
South
what it
Pole.
is.
But then you do have inner Earth at the south entrances at the South Pole too. But whether the two are connected, that's a different question. And given that it's at the North Pole and the South Pole at the same time,
In the right place.
yeah, it almost seems like I don't know if they're natural or not, but some kind of natural portal phenomenon is what I would. That's what my best guess would be. Now, the portal to where? That's the other question.
Maybe it's just to the other side of the earth.
It's a Nintendo cube.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Mario. You drop in and you pop out the other side. I mean, I don't know, but it's interesting to look at that telemetry and go, what's going on here?
I think it's going to
And everybody, you can go see this yourself. This is all on Google Earth. So
Yeah,
Right,
map
I got-
overlay. What KM map is that? Is that the Jetstream map? What is that called? How do you get that?
I think it's the Jetstream, but I think he's got the information in the description, and I put the link in the chat for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I know
Well,
dozens. I
obviously
know
it's something
dozens of
to-
submariners that have surfaced at the North Pole in submarines, and the only thing you were complaining about, the only thing that was different is they had to take a chainsaw out and cut the ice off the top of the sub. But they didn't. There wasn't any other sensation that he had mentioned. I wasn't asking for any, but if he was going to, for some reason, say, "Oh, by the way, it was just it felt weird or whatever," and he didn't say anything. But he's a command master chief, so he's pretty way up there in the food chain.
Well, I think, there's all kinds of stuff with, Antarctica in particular is, not only the mystery that it is by itself, but, all the folks that are involved with regulating it and controlling it and all that stuff, the treaty where nobody can go down there but the countries that have the little plots of ice and, and all the secrecy. I think I'll just throw this one on the table. I think that Antarctica was actually where the center of Atlantis was. And I think that the reason that it's frozen over, if you've ever looked at Google Earth and you look down at the bottom of South America, there's this little loop of stuff that's just been pushed over to the side. It's got the track and it's got a little ring of volcanoes around the end of it between the tip of South America and Antarctica. They used to be connected, just like in fact, all of the continents were connected. We're on, tell me what you think, Brian. I think we're on an expanding Earth because
continental shift.
Part of the nature of everything that we observe in the cosmos is that everything's always expanding. Everything is always getting bigger or spreading out. And I think that we're doing that because another part of our physics is wrong. We don't have a molten iron core. We have a plasma core. And the inherent nature of plasma is it continues to get bigger. It creates more of itself. So we have an expanding planet that's driven by a plasma core that over time has had all kinds of geological arrangements, different parts of mantle and crust and all the different things. Some of them were split, some came together. There used to be great big waterways, and those are all gone. All kinds of change has occurred. So not only has the planet gotten bigger, and these continental components, these plates seem to get bigger and expand, there's also more water, and it goes through cooling and heating phases. So at one point, we had a bit of a smaller geological construction, and more land was up closer to the mantle and less water. Well, eventually, as it continues to grow, some stuff gets bigger, some stuff gets smaller, and more water shows up. The end of the last ice age, which is one of the things that I love talking to these climate folks about this shit.
Yeah.
Don't start me, Robert. Don't.
Oh my God. It can be very entertaining. It can be a lot of fun. You can use them as target practice. But after a while, it's just annoying as hell. It's like you're not taking into consideration a whole bunch of information that if you were aware of, you would have a different opinion.
It's that big thing up in the sky during the day most of the time.
Oh,
Robert, I've got to say this. I've got to say it. Now, Western Antarctica is not melting because of climate change. It's melting because there are 3 active volcanoes underneath that area. There's actually six volcanoes all up, but there are 3 active. Now, people say, but what about hot and cold? It freezes quicker. No, but magma, and when it explodes, it's like it's cracking an egg. It's going to break off the sheets of ice. The ice is going to melt 2 miles down, and people, they're not telling you this. You can Google it, how many active volcanoes under Western Antarctica, and it'll tell you exactly how many. There's heaps of them, And then you've got your cycles. They talk about glaciers. Oh, the glaciers are melting. Well, how do glaciers look like glaciers? Look like frozen running water. How do they look like that if it's not moving? They have what they call an 80-round year cycle. 40 years of freeze, 40 years of melting. 40 years freeze, 40 years of melting. And that's how glazes happen. You know, and people, if they, I mean, I don't know what they're teaching people in school these days. Honestly, sorry, Arnie. I mean,
Nothing.
honestly, you know, I mean, when I went to school, I've learned history about everybody else, and geography was one of my favorite subjects, you know.
Mine too.
Honestly, global warming, they talk, look, as
In the 70s, it was global cooling.
yeah, and acid rain.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're going to get flooded, and it hasn't happened yet.
Well,
And
apparently,
then we're
a
going to have
lot of
another freeze, you know. I mean, it's all
Mr. B.
carbon taxes. They only want carbon taxes. That's all they're after. Sorry. Yes. Right.
Apparently, a lot of this is related to the sun and solar activity, especially
Yes.
when it comes to earthquakes and volcanic activity.
Exactly.
And right.
Yeah, and I think that, so I'm just going to throw another one out there. In fact, Brian, this is for you. You know, this whole
Come back, bro.
I've got to, when I look at this whole disclosure movement and all of the hype and hyperbole and sex and sizzle and whatnot and can't not going on around it, because it's just a cacophony of crap. It's just a mess of stuff for a lot of very good reasons, but also a lot of stupid reasons. And a lot of it
By the
has
way,
to do.
sorry about this. Somebody is noticing your common talk. By the way.
Oh yeah, smoking. Yeah, monkeys are regular. Thanks for being here, buddy.
You're becoming famous with these sayings now.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
What is
sorry
it?
for breaking your train- sorry for breaking your train of thought there, Robert. Just had to bring that to your attention.
No problem. I'm gonna try to grab the caboose or whatever it was I was talking about as it goes by here. Yes. So this whole thing about disclosure, I think the word is wrong. I think the real word should be exposure, not disclosure.
Full exposure now.
I think that
That's a full Monty.
I mean, to me, disclosing, I mean, this whole thing, everybody, I mean, not everybody, most people, when you talk to them about this UFO thing, you can ask them a couple of questions. A, do you think they're there? Yeah, about 2/3 or more of people are going, yeah, there's folks out there. Even doesn't matter if they're religious, their ideology, their the nurture nature environment, whatever makes them up. Most people are going to say, yeah, I kind of think there's something out there. And then you ask them another question. Well, do you think that if they were out there, would you trust your government to manage that information for you? Yeah. And the same percentage, at least 50% or more now, and it's been growing, are going to say, no, I wouldn't trust them fuckers at all. I mean, their track record is complete crap at this point, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. They've demonstrated a complete incompetence, inept ability to even think things through, let alone do them. And when they do them, they do them blatantly cockeyed. And you sit there and you go, excuse me, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know that, right? I mean, you came out of the gate shooting yourself in the foot while you were screaming about, here's what we want you to think about this subject and how you should feel about it and how you should behave. And here's all the rules and delineations that you need in order to be accepted when this subject comes up. All that shit's it's broke itself under its own weight of idiocy and stupidity. But it's also crumbling because of what we were talking about earlier about this next phase. We're in a phase of transformative disruption. Everything has reached its peak and it's crumbling based on its own variables that are going on around it, but it's falling apart. And it's like this, little stem coming up. The pissed off positive peeps, Heidi, are coming out of the ground, right? It's like these seedlings coming out and pushing the crap in the soil off to the side. I mean,
you're hitting it on the nail. You're hitting the nail on the head right there, Professor. Is that it's from the ground up, and so it's a movement from the ground up, demanding and basically the disclosure. It's like you've got so many testifiers of witnesses to all the stuff, good and bad and ugly, that disclosure becomes almost by default and inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it is absolutely a bottom up movement as opposed to a top down. We're waiting for the authorities to disclose willingly, because that's not going to happen.
It's also a big business. I think disclosure is now legitimate, like a business, and
No
those
doubt.
Agent Smiths are everywhere. So
Yeah.
it really is taking the small guy from the bottom up, pulling their bootstraps up time and again to just stay under radar, but still deliver this
Yeah.
exposure.
Well,
of truth.
most of those Agent Smiths are paid agents, or they're wrong, and then they serve the agents, and they're hyped up, and they're given all the boosts while we all get shadow banned. But the
Yep.
reason why they're doing that is because what there is to disclose, the skeletons, if you will, in the closet are so bad and so ugly, and there's so many that they can't help but fight to take control of the narrative, because once they lose the narrative and the information is out there, that's a big part of them losing the game and the whole chess set being upended.
But I
Totally.
mean, when it comes to disclosure, I think Congressman Burchett from Kentucky said something just recently in several days that
Sorry.
what that was that. Yeah.
That's B playing with these. B's trying to end the show, and he doesn't
Oh,
realize
sorry.
that's not going to happen.
And
Well, I know the girls need to go because Heidi only came on for an hour, and she's been here 2 hours. And
Well, apparently
I
they don't.
got my
Apparently
certain
they have no problem hanging out.
yeah. And
They're
now
still here.
And I've
do you want
completely
to
lost my
rephrase
train
that,
of thought.
please?
Oh no,
Yeah,
Jeff,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, it'll come back eventually after we shut down.
Oh, God.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Usually
God.
does.
So the point that I'll just try to finish up my stuff, and then I'll give the floor up, which is very rare for me, as a matter of fact. Now I think about it, but the idea of this transformative disruption that we are going through is the most impactful and the most influential and intense. I'm trying to get those two words out in the history as we know it. Because it's never been so many people going through so much at the same time. The connected collective consciousness is all, the wiring and the frequencies in there have just been crazy. And in order to deal with managing the mitigation through these frequencies, you have to have a different frequency in order to recognize it and deal with it and manage it and mitigate your participation and mitigate it as a whole. What Brian does with his group and the collective is there seems, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but there's a collective intent to not only mitigate the nonsense but proliferate the positive.
Yeah, it's a natural process that our collective vibrations and individual vibrations are going to rise, and that's seems to be kind of the theme here, is that the earth is in a current pattern of spiritually being at higher vibrations. And so you get a little bit of, if you don't adjust to the higher vibrations, you're not going to last here as the vibrations increase. And as the vibrations increase, literally it's a more energetic, higher vibration, more energy environment. So you're going to have more perhaps truth, and it's going to be harder to lie and hide things when people are telepathic and empathic and can sense each other's true intentions, right? That's going to raise our vibrations collectively, and part of living at a higher vibration means that we're living in truth. If we don't know that the earth is like a ball in space with all these other intergalactic brothers and sisters, and we're arguing it's flat and ETs don't exist, much less intelligent ETs, much less they're here on the planet now, much less they've interacted with our governments for the last 80 plus years and sold us out.
Maybe longer.
Longer, right, in many cases. And all that, yeah, exactly. How can we have a higher vibration if we're living in an idiocracy that
Yeah,
was
being dumbed
written
down.
by-
And
Yeah.
Chastity, what's your thoughts?
I was
Your
actually
thoughts?
going to say that. So thank you for calling on me. I was actually going to
You have
say.
a free voice here. You can speak up any time.
No, I
That's
know.
good.
I just kind of, I've just been in awe. I appreciate everybody, what everybody's saying, but no, I was actually going to speak up. I was waiting, because I will say the past 2 times, so when I'm in a high vibe situation, for whatever reason, my vision gets very blurry. And I think it's when I'm like, that's what I noticed. And I will tell you the last 2 times that I have this last time, both times that I've been on with you guys, my vision has been very, very blurry. So I feel like we're in a very high vibe right now too, just so you know.
Well,
yeah,
there's a correlation with that, and it's called substances that you can consume that will give you that kind of an effect where you feel higher, but your vision is a little blurry, and maybe you're getting a little sloppy with your articulation. But you're talking about the real thing.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something, Chastity. When it comes to me, I mean, I watch my show and all, saying to myself, what the is he saying? And what won't be until about a few hours after the show, I'd say, oh, that's what he meant.
Right. Yes.
It's like there's a delay going on, I mean, I don't get it all at once. That's, I don't know. What do you reckon, Jim?
Right.
You get it all at once?
When you're talking about vibrations and energy and stuff like that, there's the thing about me. There are people that I just walk by and I feel an attraction to. There's people I've been introduced. They're supposed to be a nice person, and my vibration, my frequency says, "No, this guy's a piece of shit. Don't trust him at all."
Yep.
No, I was blind with my last couple wives, but
Here we go.
but I wasn't thinking with the right hand. That was the problem.
Hey,
No,
Jim?
but that frequency tells my inner self, this person is who you should be around. The professor, for example, and actually everybody on this screen right here, and a lot of the people I've met in this community. And I can't say that for other communities I've been involved in, and but that feeling is really, really powerful.
I
And
appreciate that. 2
I
things I trust, Jim:
uh,
children and dogs. Children and dogs. Children are so open that their brains
drunks
haven't been kind of
drunks will do it.
right. And if a child comes up to you and they say, "I don't like that man,"
Yeah.
listen to them, because that they have an openness about their consciousness. And dogs, well,
If my dog doesn't like you, fuck,
I don't
either.
like it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. And that's bad. And it's all to do with frequency. Trouble is, as Heidi would probably agree with, as children grow up, they tend to be indoctrinated by either bad parents or the government or the education system. That, no, you can't do this. You're wrong. You're right. You're wrong. You're right, or whatever. And there's no happy solution. But when you're like excuse my expression, a virgin, untouched, you haven't been kind of sanitized and so open, and you see things differently because nobody's telling you what to believe, but you sense it. It's like your senses come in. It's like when you don't understand something and you look at something, you're not going to grab it. You look at it and you observe it before you do anything. Before you pick it up. Oh, yeah, does that look poisonous or does it what? Well, you just don't know. And the thing is, that's the innocence within you. Not understanding makes you cautious. And children pick up on these things. They do. They
And
really
then you
do.
get older and you become an adult, and all of those sensors go away when you get into a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're going, wait, I didn't see that coming. Whoa, what was that?
And number 2 was the Antichrist. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's one other thing I wanted to toss on the table about just another. As you folks know, I'm I really enjoy the linguistic side of expressing ideas, the language, the words, and all of that stuff. So I get really anal sometimes about the choice and making sure that the words are understood and used in the way that I think they should be, or at least they make more sense to me for what I'm looking at. It's like I was saying earlier with this disclosure thing. I think disclosure is the wrong word. It's exposure. It is, and then that exposure is across a whole bunch of things. But that to me is a better way for me to look at that set of data than keeping it under the disclosure thing, because kind of like UFO, it's been dragged through the mud for decades and it's got all kinds of baggage and stuff on it. And if you take it at its core definition of unidentified flying object, then that's okay, that's applicable. But the UFO has been through all kinds of stuff. It's got too many things that it needs to be cleaned off of it. So here's another one I want to put on the table. Everybody keeps talking about everybody's brainwashed, right? Heidi, you get this from the education side, and we get it from parents' side. We get it from the government side. Everything. You go back to what was it, Brian? Project Mockingbird, and then the Northwoods and the Brookings Institute. You see all of the control mechanisms that were designed to steer thought and the resulting actions in a certain direction.
The Tavistock Institute.
Yeah, another one, right?
Yep.
Bernays and crew back in the 20s. I mean, the father. I mean, I used to, when I was teaching marketing, I used to use him as, I'd start class off with, you need to know this first, and then everything else will make sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's marketing 101 for sure.
Yeah, just brilliant, but fundamental. And, on the Jungian side of, creating a desire and a need, and then the consumption and fulfillment of that need is basically, the model. So
diabolical.
Yes. So we keep hearing that everybody's brainwashed for whatever reason, theological, philosophical, scientism, political, social, it doesn't matter. There's brainwashing afoot. I think that's the wrong term. I think it's brain staining, and brainwashing is what needs to happen.
Anyway, guys, hey,
You think, hey, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Oh, yeah, all right.
I'm not done yet. So does that make sense from the way in which we've been using the current word of brainwashing and how it's been applied? It's really brain staining. And what needs to happen is the brainwashing needs to occur. We got to get the stains out. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does. Lantern, I just.
It's got the searchlight up. So,
all right, go on.
Well,
But listen,
I'm hoping that people.
Before you continue, Robert.
Yeah.
Heidi and Chastity, if you guys need to go at your own leisure, okay? I
Okay.
will continue.
I know
the
you
show,
continue. Yeah.
Okay.
But we will not take offense, okay? We'll take a
Okay.
date, but we won't take offense, okay?
Okay.
But I better not catch you on the sidewalk.
Oh. So whenever you want to go, I'll
All
say
right.
it now. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
I mean,
Really
our hearts
do.
will be broken that we won't be
I-
able to.
Yeah, you can't leave. No,
spend
that
some more
wasn't
time.
your exit cue.
Oh, you have to. But
We all have a date on the 6th, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes,
Let me
yes.
get this
That
right.
is correct. I'm
Yep.
very excited. Thank you so very much for helping with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'll be seeing y'all next week. Doing
Yep.
a new
Yep.
little launch. I'll hit you up, Chastity and Brian. Oh, but I have to get dressed. One sec. So I'm wishing you all a happy new year. That's our start.
Hey, I might be doing it now. I might be thinking about doing it out and about with Mrs. B tonight up in Rockingham. So,
Do it.
so because it's our New Year. This is New Year's Eve here where we are, right? So we're going up there. They might have fireworks. So I might go live doing it all. I may. Depends if I can get a car park. I don't feel like at my age, I don't feel like walking 5 miles
Yeah.
because of the crowds. They shut all the roads off and everything else. And they usually have a fantastic fireworks and a rock band in the park and everything else. Hey, it's usually a big deal. But
Yes.
if I can get there, well, I'll be going live tonight with my lovely wife. Yeah.
Well, I hope to see
She'll
you
say,
then.
don't look at me. Don't look.
Oh, she's the cutest. She's the
No, she
cutest.
is. She is.
I love
Anyway,
Sovereign Wildman. Smell you later. Yep, that's my term. But such a pleasure chatting with you all. I'm wishing you the happiest New Year, safest New Year. This is the little one. Here we come.
Happy New
This is
Year.
my- you're
and the
with me.
best of you guys as well. All the love, peace,
Happy
and
New Year,
you know
dears.
the world can throw at you.
I'll
Catch you
smell you
later,
later.
guys.
And we'll see you next year.
She's gone. See, you drove them away. No, it's good.
They're delightful. I just
They're lovely people indeed. That's for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
all right.
Anyway, carry on, Robert. Sorry, didn't mean to really.
Oh no, that's
Well,
fine. I knew that they would, jump in and say we're out of here sooner or later, but it was nice to
Well,
let
she
them.
sent me.
I
They
mean,
sent me a message.
Yeah,
They sent me a message saying we've been over an hour and a bit so far out of our time frame. So,
I mean, earlier we were talking about education and what they don't teach in school anymore.
Mm,
My dad sat down with me when I was in third grade and showed me how to use a slide rule. He had his supercomputer. I think it was a K&H, I think it is, whatever it is, or K&E. It was his supercomputer. It was about 32 inches, 36 inches long, big magnifying glass on it. And I mean, you almost needed a nuclear, an atomic microscope to be able to read the numbers and stuff. But that was his. Growing up, I never saw him without his slide rule. If he didn't have his big one, he was always in his car or was on his, it was always on his person or within close. So that's what electrical engineers do. I mean, and my dad was a mad scientist type. So, but yeah, the education system today. What are they going to do? They were interviewing a hiring manager, saying he's gone through 10 or 15 of the Generation Z or whatever you call it today, and sometimes they don't even last through half a shift. You mean I have to go mop the floor or I have to go pick up that table? Why didn't they do it themselves?
mm.
Sweetie, and there's one. I think it's a YouTube where a hiring manager in his 50s, gray-haired and whatever, is interviewing a young, almost like a valley girl, where he said, "Well, you start at 8 o'clock." I don't even get my first latte until 10:15. How do you expect me to be here at 8 o'clock? You have to, surely you're kidding. And this went on and on and on, and but it was so true to what's out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and at the same time that these kids don't want to or know how to, the old school work ethic of the Dick Tracy days and exactly there, they being offered. It's like, here, you can work in the Burger King behind the counter and maybe not get beat up this shift. It's terrible. It's like you're getting paid. It's a more expensive society, and the social contracts have been broken, and then they were brought up in easy times, so that can breed weakness, unfortunately. And there you go. I'm saying this.
I
is a
remember.
40-year-old.
Now, look, I don't want to kind of go back on certain things, but when I was a kid, I got into trouble as a young kid being on private property, and the police had to take me home. Now I'll be on the waterboard yard and I'm playing in the cane fields, without the waterboard yard. And of course, like the security guy gets me, policeman takes me home, and he stands at the front door, says, "Give your son a hiding, or I'm going to give him one for you." Literally, they'll give you a size 12 boot up the arse and the clip across the ear. The police did that too, you know what I mean? And they'll stand and they'll say, are you going to punish your kid now in front of us before we go? Because if you're not, we're going to do it. Make sure you learn. And I remember one time I was climbing over a barbed wire fence at the water board, and I got one of the security guards shot me with his 12 gauge shotgun, saltpeter up the arse, mate. And I still got the freckles on my backside to show. And I had to go to the doctor and pulling out this saltpeter, and it's like purple stain. You know,
Was that the last time that you did that, B, or did you learn from that?
Yes, that was the last time I learned to go under the fence. You know, but hey, kids today, they don't know what it's like. You know what I mean?
No, and they don't. They don't. You know, back in the day, you know, we drink Jack Daniels and ran from the police, and this is the meme going around. Today's youth drink White Claw and call the police. I mean, we're not the same. I mean, I look back at the stuff that I got away with, some of the stuff I did, and the absolute joy I had doing it. From stealing a train to screwing up the the reflector from Philco Ford when they're calibrating their deep space antennas. And all the cops in Santa Clara County either knew me or knew of me. So the good old days.
It is the good old, and it, I don't know. Look, there's a difference between discipline and abuse, and I mean,
yep.
Look, I remember going to school. I mean, I spoke back to one of the teachers, and he put me out in the hall. And of course, the principal or the vice principal would do what they call the rounds through the corridors. Anybody sitting outside the class gets 2 cuts of the cane. And if you're out there an hour later in the hall, you get 6 cuts of the cane. There's now ifs or buts across the knuckles, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I don't. Go ahead, Jim.
I mumbled under my breath. My mother said something, and I didn't know my dad was standing right next to me. Mom is a Sicilian, 5 foot tall. Dad's 6'4", and Mom said,
"Yes, God will forgive you, but Sicilians don't."
Yeah, and Mom said something, and I basically said under my breath, "Kiss my ass." And the next thing I knew, I was going through the kitchen door out into the backyard. Broke my nose.
Sorry.
And that. But I deserved it. I see today's kids, and I feel sorry for the kids because they're being brought up with absolutely no boundaries.
And no life, actually, because, I mean, as much as I love my grandson, he spends most of his time in his room playing computer games. And, when I was his age, I was out playing rugby, going surfing, doing all that. They're not living a life. They're not living their. Well, Brian, you would understand it. You're a game finance. You know how hooked you can get on it. You know.
I consider myself to be the last bridge generation growing up, born 1975. We're the last generation running around, playing in the woods, on their dirt bikes, biking around, throwing dirt rocks at each other. And then finally, then the computers came in, and then now we have the computers. And so I see the generations before us who they didn't have, now you try to get them these computers. A lot of them just forget about it. And then you see the kids these days, they don't remember what it was like biking around on dirt bikes, going surfing in the afternoons. Okay. And so, so I see myself as being that bridge generation, the 70s and 80s kids.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 45, and I remember our first television was in 1947. My dad was an electrical engineer. We had, every electrical gadget that came out or whatever he had built, and he lived at a place like the equivalent of what Radio Shack started out as way back in the 50s and 60s. We go to the surplus store in San Francisco, and his eyes would just glisten because he found that, a bunch of resistors he was looking for and some tubes he needed. And we had a laboratory in the back of the house. And Dad had 1,200 volts, 600 amps into his 10 by 20 laboratory. So
Yeah, I remember when the local Tandy store opened up. I was in heaven, because I was a VK2 operator for our city. That's a ham radio operator back in those days, and that was my joy. I mean, I used to pull radios. My favorite one I used to work on was a Yaesu FT901DM amateur radio, mate. That was a radio. They're still a classic today. Valve job, beautiful tone. Operate the world on 1 watt, mate. I've tried it on a wet piece of string, honestly, and it works. It works.
Really?
But such is life, I mean, that's part of my life and experiences, and it's sad that children today, I mean, they're not all children, but a big majority of children today, they've lost their childhood, they've lost their adolescence, and they, I mean, some of them don't even, as you said, they don't even know how to apply for a job. They've got the qualifications, they've got the education they're supposed to have. I mean, then you've got those what they call professional students. They go to university, they get a bachelor degree, and then they keep going on for doctorates. Then I might do another course. So they become professional students. We're living on grants, never paying the grants back because they're not working.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, that's a part of the broken, what we call education. It's really a schooling. It's not an education. And it's designed from, there's a great video by Sir Ken Robinson. Sir Ken Robinson. And it's RSA Animate does a whiteboard animation as he's giving his presentation, and it's phenomenal. And it's about how the education system is broken because it was designed, throughout the Renaissance period. Before we had these kind of systems we have now, it was basically done by the various theologies, the monks, the Catholics, all the different monasteries. That's where education was actually given. And a lot of the, especially, you had the secret societies and mystery schools as well. But that's where the real education was going on as far as passing on of knowledge. What we have today is, Ken Robinson points out in this video, it was designed as the agricultural revolution and then into the industrial revolution started to emerge. And they needed to organize and give some kind of administration to the populace so that they could be available to go work in this system. It was designed more for, here's the information you need to know so that you can go function and work in our shops. And that whole model is still what we have today, because what they did was they implemented a standardization of the minimum requirements in order for you to be a functioning participant in the economy that they were building. Okay. So now we have that we're on the verge again of that little seedling popping up through the soil. Education is going to be based on the self-interest, proclivities, resonances, and natural innate abilities that one has. And Heidi's, she would talk to this because this is the model.
I'm all for that. I'm totally all for that. I mean, if you've got the ability to do something, get involved in it.
But the system isn't designed to figure out what that is. The system is designed to take a cookie cutter model and damn your interests, your skills, your talents, your proclivities. None of that is important. What's important is this finite set of information you need to go out there and be another energy generator in the system.
Yeah, well, reading, writing, and arithmetic, stick to the 3 principles, right? And outside that, I mean, who really gives a shit if you want to learn how to cook? Do you really need to learn algebra if you're not going to use it? I mean, if you need it, you can learn it as you go into a university degree. Why not? Put it part of the university degree. At least, but if you've got the interest in the field, you will read books at home. If you can read and you can write, you can pick up a book and learn for yourself. You know, you can pick it up and say, okay, I can Google whatever I want to find out what this means. And you
Well,
can do it.
even that
still
is
do it.
suppressed, and
Yeah,
it's
I know.
the whole idea of self-motivation, of finding out what it is that you are drawn to, so that you
Well, Professor,
whole
can I
thing
speak
is-
to that, Professor?
yeah, go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
I think what you've very well described is the end game. Is that we see the beginning game was they need to indoctrinate people and get us into their factory system. Now we're at the end game. This is a post-industrial era now. They themselves have trashed their own industrial system, and now they're running things like the Caligari plan, where they're importing, military-aged men, not the women and children, but military-aged men who are unattached in countries, while taking apart the industrial system and the healthcare system and the educational system. And at the point where people are availing themselves of all the wonderful information out there, hey, Christy, it's not because, the system encouraged them to do that. It's because the system is at its end stages, and people are now availing themselves of other methodologies and media to learn. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think going back to, I'm going to try to put these two little nuggets together. Going back to what we were talking about as far as the identity and the security of the tokenization of self, having the sovereignty and provenance over your own information that is all about you, whatever that is, and the assets that you have ownership of, right? That system is what's going to allow and enable a complete transformation in what is schooling, we call education, but it's going to transition into learning. There's just going to be a category of learning. And under that learning are going to be these individuals that will have specific information and the way they present it, i.e. courses, that are extremely effective in teaching the information that results in a great track record of positive results for the pupils that take it. And that education is going to, those that have the best track record are the ones that are going to attract the consumption of what they create. So that content creation of your presentation of a knowledge set, and we already see this with YouTube. We see it with, in particular with YouTube. And I'll just, I'll just go ahead and put this on the table. I think YouTube is one of the most incredible innovations of the last 20 years. It literally just exploded the data set with information and opened it up to yo-yos like those of us here tonight, to be able to go flap our yaps and spew our stuff. And if somebody gets something out of it, that's something that they wouldn't have gotten had we not been able to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So
If I need to know how to fix a water heater, go to YouTube.
Exactly.
Well, that's what Musk said.
Yeah. I want to learn remote viewing. I
Go to YouTube.
Now I want to go to the really good censored stuff. I go to Rumble. or
Exactly.
Fine.
Yeah.
But that's just an example of another platform, another data source that's been enabled through the technologies that we have currently. And that is going to go on steroids when we go into this next phase of technology deployment, because the technology's there. It's a matter of putting it into a system that then takes on its own adoption. It's something that will be self-feeding. It'll be self-perpetuating because it will be so good. And there's so much bad out there now that anything good is going to get some notice for sure.
Well, you'll see it's because the communities are growing, and the communities we generate our own content. So again, we don't need this top-down Operation Mockingbird slop. Instead we're generating real content with real creators, with the resources and the information collaborating now. And then we'll be able to generate like amazing things. Yeah, crystal technology will be emerging, and that's definitely finding its way into healing and people who are doing psychoenergetic work or magic.
Yeah, I think I, for one, kind of rounding it back, kind of sort of to what we started with, I, for one, am extremely positive about the future. I think that what we're going to see through this transformative disruption is going to be very messy. It's going to be painful. It's going to have all of that oomph that happens when you bring a bulldozer into a place that needs to be leveled and you rebuild something. So metaphorically, to me, that's what we're about to see. And it's going to get ugly. Shit's going to, it's like I was saying earlier about before that I prefer the word exposure rather than disclosure, is that the exposure covers everything. And the stuff that's going to get exposed is really going to melt some minds. There's going to be some drivel and dribble and shit coming out when people start seeing the information that most of us already know and have known for a while. And we're going to be in that enviable and unenviable place of people coming to us going, hey, I know I said you were crazy when you were telling me about that, but now that it's here, can you tell me what you know
It's
about
happening
that?
now.
Right.
Well,
It's
Professor,
happening now.
I'll check out the gematria of full disclosure now movement as opposed to full exposure now movement. And we'll see how that goes. And then maybe, because or in the future, who knows? I'll keep that under advisement. I always, before I left working briefly for Tesla for 2 years, my outgoing, I actually got Elon's attention briefly with an outgoing email that I forwarded not only to him, but other members of his executive team. And so I got his attention. And I always regret I didn't get to tell him he should have called it Tesla Copilot instead of Autopilot.
There you go. Yeah, I think you're spot on. So again, to me, there's a lot of crap. You just, to me, I just look at it as multiple movies on one screen. Everyone's in the various acts and scenes that they're going through. Some of them are colliding with one another, and that's always entertaining to see, like we were talking about with the New York Times going after OpenAI because of content violations. It's like, well, hey, us musicians have been dealing with that shit for decades. We need some attention too. And that, I think all of that kind of stuff, in fact, one of the models that I've got is called ICCI, which is the International Independent Content Creators International. And the whole idea is to be able to say, we will blockchain tokenize your content.
So
And
that
then
artists
wherever-
actually get paid. You're basically that's true decentralization. As opposed to worrying whether or not the studios get their money. Who cares?
Right. Right now, you've got BMI, ASCAP, you've got all the labels, all the distributors, everybody's getting a piece of something. Well, the digitization of everything, including, graphic art, but in particular, video and audio, I mean, it's not going away. If anything, it's just going to continue in waves of tsunamis as more and more people become, they get interested in it. They find they have a skill or a talent or something, and they go, holy shit. They put it out there. Next thing you know, they're viral. And people are coming to them, consuming their content. Well, you need to have ownership of that content if you created it. And right now, there's this intermediated infrastructure that has got too many roadblocks from the creator to the consumer. So if you tokenize it and you put it on a blockchain, anybody can consume it. And because of the mass access and ubiquity of that access to that content, I mean, the metering on it can be, a thousandth of a cent for the consumer. So the cost of access will go down. The revenue and the profit will go up exponentially to the owner and the creator of said content. Once that happens, you've now got this, and I think we're going to see the first iteration, unless somebody else comes along with a completely new model. But I think it's going to be Musk and X. And as soon as he's already said he's going to provide the e-commerce and the and it's all going to be through probably Dogecoin. So it's all going to be crypto based, and it's all going to be tied to your content. So I think X may be the initial testing ground for this entire model of content ownership and the monetization of that ownership on a platform for mass consumption. I said it actually. There's a video on my new Nexus website, the nexusnextcast.com. And the day was October 22nd of last year when the announcement was completed on Musk. He's only had it a year. It's not like he's had it for 2 years and all this, right? So I went on that night, a bunch of people going, I don't care what Musk's doing. I said, hey, he's going to turn that into the first digital content tokenized, monetized platform on the planet. And it's going to be, he's also going to introduce the digital ID so that you have the sovereignty. And the key there is how that is managed and how it's accepted. I think the individual digital ID is something that if he does it right, he'll offer that. People can have it and keep it of their own, but he'll say you've got to create your own in order to participate on the platform with all the monetization, which I think would be great. He would force everybody to, look, go get your digital ID and don't go to ID 2020 either. Don't get those folks that's the global cabal, okay? Stay away from anything that's centralized. If you can decentralize the tokenization of the sovereignty of self, basically having your own wallet, which means you now become your own bank, which means you now have sovereignty, provenance, and control over your content. That's the world that I think we're going to see, and I want to play in there. I think that's going to be amazing. It's going to unleash a torrent of creativity and motivation and inspiration. All things that you can't put into AI, by the way. You can't do it. You can't put it in software and hardware. So all of that, as it unfolds, is going to be this amazing, exploding experience of like, whoa, this is great. Why didn't we do this before? There was all those people and all those things, and it was built on a system that didn't account for this. So, yeah, but there are mistakes, and we don't have those in here because this is trustless, it's transparent, and the accountability is there because even if, like you were saying, you get the EMP or a solar flare and it takes out your bank account, in this model, it's somewhere out there. It's not just, at that institution or in your wallet. It's out there.
Yeah, but
because it is a decentralized data structure for that transparency and that accountability.
But in those types of circumstances, if you get hit with EMP, your computer, your cell phone, retailers, restaurants and stuff like that, they're going to be just sitting there with a cigar box, taking money because when
there won't be any money.
when all the ones and zeros go to zeros, even if your information, like you're saying, is stored,
gold.
There you go.
Yeah, but there have to be a means to certify that it's really gold. I mean, there's ways to do it, and I'm sure there were some brilliant entrepreneur, whatever we call them, would.
It melts at a certain temperature, so they can test it that way as well.
Yeah, and but yeah, there aren't that many people who have chunks of gold or gold coins or silver coins.
Well, we know where to go if we need gold, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, the problem with metals too is that you're not going to, if you want to have enough to go secure supplies and do some bartering, some value exchange with someone. I mean, carrying around a couple of pounds of gold or silver or coins or metal, that's a pain in the ass. Yeah. And it's go ahead, Brian.
I can see pounds of silver. If you carry around pounds of gold, I don't think you got any worries there, Robert. I don't care pounds of gold.
You can blame Ronald Reagan. Hey, you can blame Ronald Reagan for this Reaganomics. You know what I mean? Because Fort Knox used to have the biggest gold reserve. It's got jack shit now. Bugger all.
Well, that was done a long time ago. That was back in the 60s and 70s.
Well, apparently they've rediscovered discovered the stash under the Vatican, and that's there's usually you have tunnels like 50 miles of tunnel worth of valuables, including gold bars. And I've seen pictures of this. This predates all this AI crap. So I'm 20% on that. 80% that's probably real.
And what about all the gold over here in the Grand Canyon? I mean, there's stuff out there, especially apparently a lot of there was Egyptians and some Olmecs and some all kinds of people, I think Atlanteans actually, who the Egyptians came from, and the Olmecs were a part of that community. But apparently there's a whole bunch of it over here in the Grand Canyon, which would make a lot of sense. And now the whole lithium thing is exploded, where turns out lithium's everywhere. The cost is in the processing of it, but it's like, is that really the energy? No, because we have source or 0 point energy now. You don't need petroleum or generators even anymore. And that's one of the other awesome things that we're about to see. You can have a cube that fits in the palm of your hand that is a continuous energy generator. All you got to do is plug into it and suck it out. And as much as you need, as much as you want, and it's always there. It never goes away, never runs out. You don't refill it, you don't recharge it, because that's what Tesla was doing. That's what Keeley was doing. Maxwell understood this. Heaviside, Faraday, all these guys understood that in the ether, in the air that we are breathing right now, you can have all the energy, all the water, and all the communication you want. It's in the ether that we are in. And the technology to extract it and leverage it is also off the bench. It is commercial. It can be commercially available.
Here's something that I found really amusing this week. Yeah. I saw this post and I reposted it. It was about this Indian turn around and says, how can they say that running a Tesla car is cleaner than running an air conditioner, right? Because they both, I mean, you're still going to burn electricity either way, however you look at it, right? Now, the thing was, I posted that. I got a warning saying it's not fact checked. Tesla cars run cleaner than air conditioners. Well, hello. Where do you charge up your Tesla car, and where does that energy come from? The same place the bloody air conditioner does. And now the air conditioner, hypothetically, if you want to look at it, isn't it also cooling the planet down if we have so much global warming? I mean, it's going to add. I mean, obviously, you're going to burn electricity no matter what you do. So basically, par and par, as you might say, they're just as bad as each other.
your wind generation industry, you never get a full return on your money spent on wind power.
Oh, the factory.
I mean, you get maybe 20 to 60%, I think, is what I read. And then I was down at South Point Road on the Big Island, Hawaii, here, 2012, and there's a whole wind farm field there that's been abandoned. You can see where the things have caught on fire, and everything's dripped down. The things have fallen over. And it's just, I mean, it's pathetic, and you can't recycle any part of it. Maybe the steel, the steel supports, but the blades, they're all.
But you're still going to have energy to melt the bloody things down.
They should be taking those blades and repurposing them into structures. You could build some great architecture with those blades.
Yeah, but you need someone with an imagination, and you're not allowed to have that in today's schools.
Right.
That's true.
Because they're not meant to. They're meant to shut down the youth. I mean, they're trying to depopulate us all, first of all, much less teach us algebra.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is they're not teaching the things that are necessary for a minimal optimal participation in society.
That's not the agenda. Wokeness is the agenda, right?
When we went to school, we had home ec. We learned how to cook and do home shit, laundry and whatever. We had a shop class,
I love
metal
it.
class, wood class. We were
Yeah.
doing all that kind of stuff, learning, fixing engines and all that. I mean, this Gen Z, I think, is who they refer to themselves as. These folks couldn't start a push mower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I didn't know they had. I didn't know they had gas powered ones until I was almost a teenager.
God, I remember going to at high school, mate. We used to have metalwork, woodwork, mechanics. We've done a lot welding. We've
Auto
done it
shop.
all.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and none of that is taught now, and so you don't have. There's no skill set development. The whole talent thing, whatever natural skills and again proclivities that you have, preferences, prejudices, whatever they might be, none of that is encouraged. In fact, that's all suppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 out of students.
Except if you're not sure if the genitals that you were born with are defining your identity. So removing the genitals will affirm it. I mean, just the simple illogical stuff that's going on there is truly, pun intended, it's mental fornication.
It's sad.
You know, wait,
It's
4 out of
truly
students,
sad.
myself, we made a go-kart out of a lawnmower engine in class.
Oh yeah.
And it worked really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, it's coming that time of the hour.
Yeah. 3
Oh.
hours. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Hey,
mate.
happy New Year's, everybody.
Yeah.
And
And,
you too, Brian.
it's always an absolute delight. You know, he never calls me back. So the only time I see him now, because he's so darn busy, is on your program.
I know.
And
I usually call him too, and he doesn't answer. But if you're feeling guilty, he might call me back. But he doesn't call you back. He calls.
No.
Wait. You're assuming that I ever experienced something called guilt. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. The last half gallon of milk I bought, I looked to see if his picture was on the milk carton, but it wasn't there. So,
Oh yeah.
Well, I've been busy getting the Nexus Nextcast website
yeah,
together.
I understand.
I'll
that.
send you guys the links. I've got shows up there now. I've just been doing a few little tweaks, trying to make sure that I've got the content. It'll be on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and Spotify. So I'm trying to get as much spread across the platforms as I can. And I'm going to start firing up shows. Right now I've got the reports. What I'm doing are report episodes on different topics. So I've got space and archaeology up there now. I'm going to have tech and philosophy and a number of things. I'm not going to do political stuff. I'm going to do information and learning stuff so that people have, and they're like little 10-minute pieces of here's the latest headlines or events and news that I found interesting put together. So take a look, and I put the links in and all that. So I'm doing that. Plus
Want to
the
say
shows
something to you?
themselves.
Smoking Monkey wants to say something to you, mate. There it is. You're becoming famous for that. I don't have to mention anything. Everybody knows you about turds. There's something about
Well,
and
everybody's
turds.
got to be
What is it?
associated. Everybody's got to be associated with something, and at least
Yeah.
my turd includes tossing it. So there you go.
Yeah, and your turd's on my table. That's
Well, Brian, it was great to have you on and have a great conversation. It's always really enjoyable. So thanks for coming.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for Mr. B for reaching out, and it's great seeing you as well, Jim. And hopefully we'll get to see fireworks from Mr. B coming up.
hopefully, yes, hopefully. Depends on the crowd. It depends on the crowd, mate. I don't want to walk 5 miles because I can't get a car park,
Yeah.
But otherwise,
No,
I will send you a link, Brian, no matter what. When I do a show, you can either accept it or not. I won't be offended if you don't come, but I'll just make sure you get one regularly. Okay. So no worries, buddy.
And I'm going to
Thank you for joining us.
I'm going to be in Reno in May.
Oh. Really?
9th, 10th, and 11th, or 10th, 11th,
You
and 12th.
can't go to Reno.
How are you heading here? Because I'm 2.5 hours northeast. Our Prepper Palace is in Yield, Winnemucca, about 2 hours or 80 miles away from Burning Man, where they throw it in the Black Rock Desert, 2.5 hours northeast of Reno. Yeah.
By the way, I've got to say, Jim, I really
Yes, sir.
did like that photograph of you on the motorbike, where you wearing your colours. You had the skunk on your front, on the back of your leather jacket, and you had your ribbons on your chest, mate.
Yeah, I gave it to my son, and I said, since I don't have my Harley anymore, and you just bought a brand new one, would you honor your old dad and wear it? And he said, well, people are going to say, well, you weren't in Desert Storm or whatever. And I said, tell them that I asked you to wear it. Your name is James Goodall, and the name tag was Master Sergeant James Goodall. So, and if they don't like it, too fucking bad. I asked you to wear it.
And you should be able to wear it with pride. That's
absolutely dad's jacket. Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah.
No one's been stolen valor at that point. That's great.
And
that's the first thing I noticed, Jim. It's your colours you're wearing, mate. You know, on your chest, which I thought was absolutely wonderful.
What, this one here?
Yeah. No, no, on your leather jacket, your ribbons.
Oh, yeah. No, that was my vest.
That
was my vest I wore over my leather jacket.
Your vest. Yeah,
I killed a lot of cows when I rode my Harley. I just had chaps. I had my jacket when I bought it in 2000. No, it was in 97. I found out that when I told my then wife I wanted to get a Harley, she said, well, get it. And that surprised the hell out of me. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, I was at his house, and said, you know, your wife said the funniest thing here a couple of days ago. And I said, what's that? He said, well, she said that you were buying a motorcycle, and he said, if I'm lucky, he'll kill himself on it. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. But that's where her intent. And I think she was disappointed that I didn't kill myself on it. I put 70,000 miles on my Road King before I gave it to my best friend. So, but I am delighted to be here. It's always an honor to be on there with Mr. B and the professor and Brian. And so, this is the second or third time we've been on the same podcast. I want to thank everybody who's listening. I thoroughly enjoy it, and
it's good to chew the fat. It's good to chew the fat.
And thank you for giving me access to part of your world and some of your time.
Hey, Jim, when you've got nothing to do and you want somebody to harass, just give me a call and messenger, mate, and I'll come on mine.
Okay, that sounds good.
I'm there for you, buddy.
Yeah.
And same you, Rob. Same you. All you guys. Jay, I'm here for you. 24/7.
Yeah.
You got Shermanator, Smoking Monkey.
Yeah.
Christy.
Yeah.
If you're out there, Mike, Claudette.
And when you get time there, Professor, you know how to get hold of me.
Yeah, I
come
do
on.
I think I still have your number. I'll check.
He's a real son of a bitch. Yeah.
He knows how to win hearts, doesn't he? Okay, everybody. Thank you very much. Hey, all viewers, thank you very much for watching us. I think that most of them are your followers there, Professor.
Well, it seems like there's a few out there. I'll have to go and take a look. But just remember that, tomorrow's date is 123-123. And that's only for us in the West, because all these folks on the metrics, they move the month and the day around, so they don't get to the joy that we do. But nonetheless, there it is numerologically. And I guess we'll see everybody next year, huh?
Yeah,
for sure. That's for sure. And I might be, as I said, going on late tonight with my wife, Mr. B, out and about. As I said, if it's not too crowded, but otherwise, it can be like silly season. You know what I mean? Silly season. Anyway, and as I was saying, everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. We enjoyed chewing the fat with you guys, and please always remember, be nice, be kind, aspire to inspire one another, and as our friend Doc Skinner would actually say, let's lift each other up that we can all rise up together. And that's a very good saying. I like that one.
You
What
have
do
a
you
good
reckon,
one, my
Jim?
friend. You have a
It
great
is a
day.
good one, isn't it?
Talk to you,
You
next
too, buddy.
year.
Take care.
Same to you, Robert.
Bye-bye, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, and thank you very much there, Robert. Well, everybody, I'm going to go. It's one of those days where everybody's tired, I think. It's a season, isn't it? So I'll just play a little something before we go. Here we go.
It's a mind-blowing situation. For the public, it's like, oh, a conspiracy theory, it's entertaining. But if you're actually in a responsible position and you find out that there's a whole secret government program that you don't know about, it's a shock.
This report comes from a shadowy Pentagon department that was shut down in 2012.
The disclosure movement has been hijacked by people parroting the narrative and the script being written by these black projects. I would say 90+% of everything that's going to come out is false.
The most widely seen UFO right now is not alien, it's actually ours.
It's a great cover story for all kinds of criminal activities. Blame it on the aliens, right?
If we are being visited by interdimensional beings, we should know about it.
This has the big disadvantage of the truth being much more unbelievable than the fiction.
It's the crash retrievals that are the Rosetta Stone for solving the UFO cover-up.
The implications of this is the difference between extinction level civilization versus one that's going to take off to the stars.
Oh, what the hell?